Hey everyone, Michael Anthony here. Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Sammy in the Circle. But anyway, you're listening to the only podcast that is dedicated to breaking down the entire Van Halen catalog one track at a time. And the podcast will rock. Ow!
Hello, baby!
Well, what is up, all you rockers, rockettes, and everything in between? We're all inclusive here at a new and final, kinda, installment of And the Podcast Will Rock. Welcome back to the show. You guys thought we were like done. Like, nah, we're not done. We're never done. And if you stuck around to what we have in store for you in the future, we won't be done for quite some time. So get comfy. Get comfy over here on the podcast or will rock couch. There's plenty of space. I am your co-host, Mark Kamier. With me, as always, Corey Morissette. Corey, are you feeling down in the apolitical blues, or is it more of a? Are you going to call the ice cream man on such a bright, sunny, happy day?
Well, I would if I wasn't diabetic. Thanks, Mark. Now I want ice cream.
Damn it.
And I can't have it. Already, show 145, and I want to kill you now. It only took 145 episodes, you bastard. No,
I can't believe it took 145 episodes to make a diabetes joke.
Tonight's a celebration.
It was unintentional.
It's a celebration tonight. 145 episodes of this little podcast here. We're wrapping up our third full season. We're going to tease what's to come in season 4, but you can't do a wrap-up show unless you have Kevin Brown, who's kind of like Beetlejuice. If you just say his name 3 times, he shows up on a podcast. It's the weirdest fucking thing. So while we're waiting for you, Mark, I accidentally, because I was swearing, I was editing Ultimate Catalogue Clash. I'm like, fuck that Kevin Brown, fuck that Kevin Brown, fuck that Kevin Brown. And he showed up. Kevin Brown, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing very, very well. I hacked Zoom, so I have all the links. So I'm just going to start showing up on, regarding Van Halen 3, maybe Rush Rash. I'll just pop in and out wherever I damn well feel like it.
Excellent.
If there's anyone who knows about irregular podcast seasons, it's Kevin Brown, who's on season 45 of his 2-episode podcast. Which one is that?
I'm on we're starting season 10 right away.
10.
So that's
10. Yeah, and you've been on the air, what, a year? And you're on season 10?
Oh, no, we're well over a year now. We're at least 16 months, Corey. I don't know.
How does that make any sense?
You Brits and your short seasoned episodes and everything. Yeah. It's just like, whatever.
That's good, man. Well, hey, boys, thanks for inviting me back on to celebrate with you. This is, I think it's a momentous occasion. You talked about it a little bit on the last wheel spin episode, and I'm so glad that you spun the wheel, even though it had one song in it. But I really was rooting for that little 2-pixel black segment because I wanted to know what happens if that could break the internet, right?
Exactly.
Just everything sinks into a black hole. Who the fuck knows what happens?
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's like on The Office when they were showing the DVD wallpaper thing when Michael Scott was giving his talk in the boardroom. It actually just hit the corner just perfect.
Hit the corner. Perfectly corner.
Yeah. That's the worst thing about being I'm an IT guy nominally, and it's the worst thing about being in IT because you get people calling you, family members. I think I've deleted the internet. I'm pretty sure you haven't deleted the internet. What I think you've deleted probably is the shortcut to the internet.
You're the guy they call because you're the it man. Everyone wants to call the it man. Yeah, that's what IT means, right?
That's absolutely information confusion technology. But let's give a bit of an overview on what I got planned for you tonight. We had a bit of a chat offline between the three of us, and there's some stuff that you guys want to cover tonight and some stuff I wanted to throw at you. So we're going to have a little chat here and go into, you've got to wrap up the last poll that you did, Mark. You got to tell people where Atomic Punk landed for people, some of the comments and the Discord. Then we're going to do some rankings of the bonus tracks. So that's all the stuff that wasn't on any of the studio albums. Then we'll do a bit of a Q&A from phase 1 of the podcast up to this point. Then we'll do the rankings for the instrumentals, which I'm kind of looking forward to because I'm not too sure. I think that one might be a bit diverse as well. Then we're going to go through a little bit of a fun thing, and we're going to put together some live set lists. So I told you guys to put together 18 songs, so 15 main set and 3 encore songs into a Van Halen set list, into a dream set list. So we'll go through those and compare and see where we landed on those. And I did that as well, just as a bit of fun. Then we'll do the rankings for the albums, for the 12 studio albums. We'll rank those, and then we'll talk about what comes next around the podcast will rock. Corey's going to preview the wheel because he's got it all loaded up, and then we'll close things out. How does that all sound?
Sounds great. I wanted to mention about the set list, though, because I'm pretty sure my set list kicks Mark's in the nuts. So I kind of want our patrons who are watching this right now as we record to vote in real time on who has the better Ultimate Van Halen set list. And the rules were pretty broad, right? We could have Sammy, we could have Dave, we could have Gary if we wanted. Build a 15-song set list and a 3-song encore. So, man, that was hard.
And I gave you we said basically was the solos were sort of freebies. And so you can throw those and tag those on to sort of before a song or after a song or whatever. And so, Mark, I know that you didn't explicitly state those in the set list that you sent to me, but as we
because it's like, basically, I'll just tell you right now, it's because inject wherever, whenever, essentially. It's like it's a free for all in that regard because I mean it's a live set, so Eddie would find a way to kind of organically work it in wherever I trust in his judgment.
Well, we'll tell you now that being the assholes that me and Corey are, we have found little hacks and we're doing, unnecessarily geeky, nerdy things with our set list. So
cool.
Okay, well, so let's start with, let's go back and talk about your last song. I don't know if you want, I'll hand it over to you, Mark, and you can go through Twitter and you can go through the Discord and go through Atomic Punk.
Well, thank you for telling me the format of my show. I appreciate that, Kevin Brown. That's why we couldn't do it without you. No. This is Kevin's. It's his show tonight, so I'm just going to follow his lead. Let me bust out those manifestos. Here we go. Well, as you say, the last song we spun was Atomic Punk, going all the way back to Van Halen 1. That's right, the debut album. We still technically have 1 day left, but there's still some votes. But as of right now, as of this recording right now, where we are sitting with Atomic Punk is 95.5% What Dreams Are Made Of, over a 4.5. And there's two things I want to note about that is I'm pretty sure a few hours ago I saw it at 96% already, and I guess some of the negative voting swayed that percentage. So the other thing I noticed, who the hell votes down Atomic Punk? like what? Did you guys listen to the song? Or is it possible, Corey? Is it possible that there are, in fact, fans of Van Halen that don't think Van Halen 1 is hot shit?
Oh, man, I don't know. But every song has a downvote, at least one, right? Even like Little Guitars, still our all-time champion, 98.6%, 1.4, The Dream Is Over. So at least one person downvoted that song.
I don't get it.
At least one person downvoted Take Your Whiskey Home, Mean Street, which is number 3, Hot for Teacher, number 4, DOA, number 5. As Scott Monroe so ably puts it, do you even Van Halen? Like, I don't fucking think you do if you're downvoting that one. But Atomic Punk, pretty good showing. If the votes hold the way it is, it'll be the number 7 song, according to our Twitter poll. So that's not bad. It's just below Unchained, just above Somebody Get Me a Doctor. I would rank both those songs ahead of Atomic Punk myself, but I'm pretty cool with it being a top 10 finish.
It is. I would say it holds merit being a top 10 contender. I think that's very fair to say. Well, you know what? Since they didn't do it, we only have one tweet that is by our lovely patrons. Remember, guys, if you want your tweets guaranteed read on the show, you need to join the Patreon, and I'll do that for you.
Kevin Brown, I should point out on YouTube, Kevin Brown was just flipping the bird. He's flipping it off to Jeff Brewer, who said he downvoted Atomic Punk. Oh, he's kidding. Take that finger back, Kevin. Now you have to apologize to him.
I was about to say, I'm going to pull up his manifesto right now and see if that is true. No, we go over actually to our friend Rava Flav.
Yeah.
And Rava Flav says, "Oh yeah, man, 10 plus on the Atomic Punk. This is a pretty ballsy song, meant to be played at volume 11. Great lyrics, and Dave's anger and swagger are spot on for this one. The whole band rips. It's a bit of a deep dive for this album. Nobody rules these streets at night like me." The Atomic Punk, of course. Thank you, Rava Flav. So there you go. That's a 10 plus. Crank it to 11. I'm inclined to agree with him. Scott Monroe, thank you very much for letting me know where to start. So we go over to our buddies at Dissect That Film, to Brett. He says it's the greatest Van Halen song ever created, hands down. No need to explain more. What a way to end this version of the show. Congrats, guys. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate that. Would you agree with that assessment, Corey, that this is the greatest Van Halen song ever created?
Well, not for me, but I could see how it would be for someone. I'm not going to besmirch someone for saying they think it's the greatest song ever created, unless it's somebody saying "Up for Breakfast" is the greatest Van Halen song ever created, because we all know that it's like third. It's not first. It's like third.
Look, that song is like somebody finding like a novel, like the old great novel by Charles Dickens or something. Like that could be somebody's true poetry fan favorite. Corey, there's probably people out there.
If you keep playing it, you're going to summon Chazmataz. You know what's going to happen.
If Chaz comes, we're going to get more hate mail, because that's all I get on the Van Halen account now is Chaz hate mail.
Try to call his bluff. Yeah, that is true, apparently. So we love you, Chaz.
We love Chaz.
You can always be on the show. And if you don't like Chaz, well, don't tell us. Take it up with him and see how many fucks he gives. Anyway.
I think the fucks he gives is one of the problems, from what I heard.
Nah. But Jeff Brewer, the aforementioned Jeff Brewer, who was trolling a little bit, he says, I began my Van Halen fandom with Jump. So when I first familiarized myself with their first album, I wasn't a big fan of Atomic Punk or its fraternal twin, On Fire. They were both a little too heavy, quote unquote, for my liking. Yeah, what a wimp, right? I mean, yeah, kind of. I'm kidding, Jeff. As with many Van Halen songs, my revelation came soon after starting to play guitar. It's not Ed's most complicated work, and the sound effect at the beginning is pretty easy to recreate, but the sheer power and force of this guy's playing was so unbelievable. I can't imagine anyone who knows and appreciates Van Halen ever voting something like this down. Maybe some of those in the When It's Love / I'll Wait faction would do it. Hopefully not. Thumbs way up for the perfect last song of the podcast first chapter. I think myself and Kevin Brown are a couple of those When It's Love, I'll Wait people, and I didn't vote Atomic Punk down. So what else you got, Jeff?
It's a great track, man. It's a great track.
Yeah,
it's funny because I'll Wait finished 9th. In our official in the Twitter ranking, so Atomic Punk was 7th.
That's insane.
I'll Wait 9th. Yeah, 94.7 for I'll Wait.
Like I like that song. I think myself, Kevin, you like I'll Wait.
Love that song.
Yeah, exactly. I think we are a couple of maybe slight minority champions for that song, but number 9 seems high. Seems really high. But hey,
I would put Panama there instead of I'll Wait. I would swap out I'll Wait and Panama.
Dude, we even got Panama moved up a bit, and it still wasn't high enough.
I know. It's top 20 now at least, but it's top 10 all fucking
Jesus Christ. I know. Corey, you and I both, we're never going to get over that.
I'm going to do revisit episodes on Panama until we fucking get it in the top 10.
I just can't believe
the poll vote, it'll just be 2 thumbs up. It's like either A or B vote. Let's see.
I can't believe Mean Streets is at number 3.
It is, yep. Mean Streets. That's right.
Mean Streets.
Speaking of Mean Streets, Davey Lee Smith says Atomic Punk is such a heavy onslaught of a tune, machine gun riffs that pummel you like nobody's business. To the best of my knowledge, it's interesting that despite the song having no harmony vocals, it's one of my favorites on the album. Congratulations to you guys for going through this journey. Both the song and the podcast will rock are what dreams are made of. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that, dude. Yeah. I mean, could it have benefited for some extra harmony? Sure, why not? Because Mikey Anthony is the best, and any more Mikey you can give me, I will take. Let's see, Scott Monroe, our buddy Scott Monroe, from Regarding Van Halen 3, by the way, says Atomic Punk blows. Just kidding, it's a banger, and I made a T-shirt in high school with the song name on the front. That's all I got. Easy hashtag what dreams are made of. You just made an Atomic Punk t-shirt? That's awesome. Damn.
Are you surprised? By the way, Scott is in the chat and he says we need to change the platform. Twitter ain't the place for logical poll results. Should we consider that season 4? Like, how do we get our votes in season 4? Kevin
I don't
Brown.
want to say Facebook because that just seems like disaster as well.
You need a programmer who could code something up for you, maybe potentially.
Yeah.
And put it right on our website, maybe. People could vote on our
Something
website.
like that, maybe.
It's maybe something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Something to think about, you guys. Thank you, Scott. And then lastly, the aforementioned, say his name, he will appear. Chaz Charles says Atomic Punk is the definition of Van Halen. If you downvote this song, you're a Clash fan. Go drink your iced tea somewhere else. Hashtag what dreams are made of. Sorry, I was trying to do a little Chaz Charles impression. I'll work on it. But there you go.
Sitting here being a complete dick.
You got to put more fucking in there.
That's right. So many fucks.
So many fucks.
This is the last show of this particular iteration, so fuck it. I don't even know where I was going with that. What's next, Kevin? You're running the show.
Yeah, well, we're getting some rankings because I know that people like hearing how these rankings polls turn out. And I think the first one you wanted to do, Corey, was the shortest of the ones we're going to cover.
Wait a minute.
Oh, hello.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Before you go any further, I can't believe I forgot this. Kevin Brown, what is your vote and your manifesto on Atomic Punk?
Oh yeah, I voted Atomic Punk. Are you kidding me? I was telling Corey earlier, I think when we were offline or maybe when we were recording, it's one of those songs that you guys brought me back to. I'd kind of forgotten about it. I hadn't really listened to it probably in, I don't know, like 15, 20 years. And it was an absolute blast of fresh air. I thought, this is fucking fantastic. It rocks hard. I love the intro, everything about it. It's got that new wave of British heavy metal kind of groove to it. So yeah, big fan, big fan.
There we go. Now, I knew something was off and I needed to correct it. There it was. So thank you, Kevin. And thank you, everyone, for your final Van Halen manifestos and your votes. There you have it. There it goes. It's gone forever. Unless you listen to the backlog episodes, of course, and you should do that. Anyway, Kevin, continue.
Yeah, no, let's get into it. Corey, we've got some bonus tracks. We've got 8 bonus tracks. And you polled the listeners, so let's get into how these ranked.
All right, well, I'm not going to do this like we normally do. We'd be here all fucking day. We got other shit to get to, so I'm just going to show you the slide. It has all the results on it. So yeah, again, we polled the patrons to find out how they would rank the bonus tracks we covered this season, and they go in this order. Number 8 was "Learning to See," by far the least popular song we covered this year. Number 7, "Up for Breakfast." Number 6, "That's Why I Love You," which was a deep cut that was taken off of Van Halen 3. I think it probably was better than Josephina. Maybe you could work with it and make it and put it on there, but I don't know. You would think we'll see what the Regarding Van Halen 3 boys think about That's Why I Love You. Number 5 was "It's About Time," which is actually a song I kind of dig, even though it's kind of stupid. It's got a soaring Sammy chorus to it. I really kind of like it. Number 4, "Crossing Over," which of course was cut from Balance. Very emotional song. Love that tune a lot. Number 3 is "Can't Get This Stuff No More," David Lee Roth cut off of Best of Volume 1. Number 2 is the other David Lee Roth cut from Best of Volume 1, "Me Wise Magic."
Boo! Fucking boo!
And the number 1 song, according to everybody, and it was kind of by a long shot, "Humans Being" from the Twister soundtrack was the number 1 bonus track we covered this year, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan
I
is
would
wondering,
be very upset if that one wasn't at the top of the list.
He's wondering, is this the first time Sammy finished ahead of Dave? And, you know,
I think so.
Yeah, in the polls, probably. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Any surprises there for you guys?
Sorry?
Yeah. The biggest surprise for me, it's a good surprise, but I'm actually shocked that Up for Breakfast did not make it dead last. I am shocked by that, and I'm proud of you guys. It didn't end up dead last for me. You know where it ended up on my list? Number 7, you know, where it is right there. So, and that's
Mine too.
fine. I just thought that was a nice little surprise. But the real surprise here is how many of you guys really think Me Wise Magic deserves to be that high.
You don't think it's number 2?
Oh, fuck, it was last for me.
No, it was
Really?
It was 6 for me.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was last
fuck.
for me.
I love Me Wise Magic. It's by far, it's my number 2. Easy.
Yeah, no,
It was right above Up for Breakfast for me, so not by a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are in the minority there. A lot of people love those David tracks. Actually, just point totals, Humans Being had 96 points. Me Wise Magic had 70, and then Can't Get This Stuff had 69. So 1 point separated the two David Lee Roth tracks from Best of.
Yeah, Can't Get This Stuff was my number 1. I mean, Crossing Over was my number 2. I mean, I can't get stuff no more. The swing in that song,
Yeah.
it's just divine. I love that track.
Yeah. Also, I Learning to See was number 4 for me. Like I kind of dig that song. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of dug it when I was going back through it, and it's like yeah. Like obviously it's not higher than Humans Being or even It's About Time. About Time was my number 2, by the way.
Well, Learning to See is kind of second-rate Soundgarden, right? So you're kind of a younger guy. You grew up with like the, that kind of generation of grunge. So maybe that one hit a little harder for you.
I think you might be right. Actually, yeah, I'm a big '90s alt guy, so that's just hearing that little kind of like extra grungy little low end probably had a lot of influence. That's fine, but I don't know. I'm just shocked that one was the one everyone was like, nope.
It's the one too. I think that sounds most like it could have been on Balance. It's got that same kind of darkness to it.
I can hear that.
Yeah. Jeff loved Can't Get This Stuff. That was his favorite. Scott Monroe is a Me-Wise Magic guy. Good buddies that dissect that film say, I listen up for breakfast every morning during breakfast. It's always an honor of Corey's love for that song. Thank you. I'm glad it could brighten your day as it does mine. Dan Papathopoulos says, I can't tell you how much Me-Wise Magic teased me for the reunion in 96. I heard that song and was so disappointed when things fell apart. I was kind of the same way. I really kind of, even though lyrically I didn't know what the fuck it was about, I really dig that tune quite a bit. And then Jeff actually agrees with me on something. That'll be the takeaway for season 3 for me. Soundgarden knockoff. Thank you very much, Jeff.
You should print that out, that little graphic out, and then just put it on a shirt. There you go. Like you have that memorialized on a shirt.
I like Mean Streets.
Like Mean Streets. That's Why I Love You was easily the worst of the bunch. I thought. I was like, I am not into this track whatsoever. But apparently, and the audience kind of felt the same, but they just really couldn't put it below Up for Breakfast, though. I think Up for Breakfast just deserved a little bit more.
Interesting.
Come on, who doesn't want a little butter on their
Maybe
biscuit?
It's Corey's fault it's growing on me.
Scott says the riff from Learning to See came from Left for Dead, the unfinished demo song with Gary to the Van Halen 3 follow-up album. So that's
super
cool.
interesting. Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, That's Why I Love You, though. I mean, for me, that one's sort of got it's kind of like Van Halen does Pete Townsend.
A little bit.
I would have liked to see where they went with it. If they'd kind of followed through, and it would have been kind of interesting. But
so you don't think it has a place on Van Halen 3 over what's there?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I would have included it ahead of 2 or 3 tracks at least. But
now hold the phone. Jeff Brewer says it's Mean Street, no S. That can't be right. I'm pretty sure it's Mean Streets.
It's Mean Streets and it's Trivial Pursuits, definitely.
Actually, you know what? It's Means Streets. There's an S at the end of Mean as well.
Means Street. It's talking about the means, having means, having money,
exactly.
Yeah, Mean Street.
Yeah, we're Van Halen experts. We know.
It means street. He's trying to give directions.
I don't know. I don't know why Jeff loves that song so much because mean also means average. Fuck.
Mean Streets did not make it on my set.
Jeff goes, I didn't know that, Scott. Stop showing off. No, don't. I can read your comments, Scott, and make it seem like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So please keep giving us wisdom.
Okay, well, shall we move on? We've done the bonus tracks. Let's talk. So I sent you guys some questions that I was kind of curious about. So first is like, which during this initial run, which album surprised you the most? Either you were sort of lukewarm on it, or you didn't know it, and now you love it, or is there an album that you always loved but didn't realize that other people didn't feel the same way about it?
For me, I always just assumed For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge was universally beloved. Yeah. We found out that apparently that is not true. I learned that apparently everyone well, not everyone, but I think the majority of our audience believes that of the Sammy records, 5150 is the best. I was like, at the start of the show, I said, I don't know that that's true. Now I'm going, I don't know that I could argue against it.
Yeah.
So learned that. So yeah, those were kind of a shocker. And then also it kind of reinvigorated my love for Van Halen 2, although where it went on my rankings might shock you.
Shocked me.
Right.
Yeah, shocked Corey.
I'm assuming Van Halen 2's if it's not in Corey's top 3, he's been lying to us, ladies and gentlemen.
Van Halen 2 is my number one. Just in terms of being my favorite record. It's probably my favorite record of all time, to be honest. But to answer your question, Kevin Brown, the one album that kind of surprised me, that I was lukewarm on and really, really loved after doing the show was Balance. Because that's an album I just kind of disregarded when it came out. Yeah. It's like, okay, Can't Stop Loving You is fine. It's kind of a standard ballad. And I didn't really give the rest of it much notice until I was doing this show. And you're listening to stuff like Seven Seal and Don't Tell Me and Aftershock. Like, there's a lot of fucking gold on there. And even the songs I thought I hated, like Feelin', when you really listen to it, it's like, well, that's a lot better than I gave it credit for. Yeah. So, like, Balance really rose up my rankings, actually, because doing this show really grew my appreciation for that record a lot.
Well, and it really shows you where Van Halen 3 came from, right? You see where the roots of that particular tree come from is because Ed's already starting to really branch out and do something different on Balance. So there's lots of different tones. And I know that's probably one of the reasons why it certainly wasn't a big hit with a lot of the sort of the diehard 70s kind of guys is, well, it's a bit too much, right? But
what's the big difference between Balance and Van Halen 3? A producer. Exactly. Bruce Fairbairn one of versus Eddie Lackeyboy. Big difference. Yeah. You get a producer on Van Halen 3, I bet you get a pretty decent album out of that.
Well, and so let's just have a look at this here, because they did have an engineer, but I even questioned how much engineering anyone else did.
No, Eddie even said, like, on Without You, he engineered that, because we talked about that on the regarding Van Halen 3 show. Eddie's quote was, "Any of the rough edges, blame on me." It's an entire album of rough edges.
Yeah, but there's a charm to that. There's a charm to rough edges sometimes, I think. So,
fucking British charm. It's like, let's put some stinky meat in some pie and call it a dish. Fuck
comes
off.
With the big book of British teeth and the big book of British smiles, right?
Yeah.
It's spotted dick. Let's talk about it.
So we've talked there about the albums for you, and we talked a little bit around the edges of it, but what's been the most surprising take that you thought, okay, well, obviously everyone loves X, whether it's an album, a song, or whatever it is, and you found out that actually you're sort of in the minority, or on the opposite of this, well, man, no one's going to fucking love this song or this album, and you think, what? I mean, I know you talked about Little Guitars being top is a bit of an outlier, and I think that's partly due to just not many people were voting, as many people were voting back then, but what's that kind of swing where you think, what the fuck, are you guys serious?
Well, I mean, for me, it was, I never realized, I knew that there were people out there that preferred Roth Van Halen. I did not realize how many people just absolutely just hate Sammy's tenure in the band.
Yeah.
Like hate it, like won't regard it. It's like hashtag not my Van Halen. I saw it on a tweet not that long ago of a show we did. Not my Van Halen. I was like, what is it, a Sammy track? Yeah, it was. Well, grow up. Anyway, so that was the huge discovery, because it felt like, just weeks upon weeks. I said, I don't understand why you guys are voting this way. Is it just because it's Sammy? And for the most part, yeah, it's Sammy. and I'm not calling out, our patrons or anything like that, because we love the passion, we love the opinions, but yeah, a lot of them very much are just like, nope, can't get behind it. It's a Sammy track, or it's less good because it's a Sammy track. And I was like, oh man, come on. But what are you going to do? So that was my, I think, hugest takeaway, or in terms of surprising.
It definitely surprised me. And before I throw it to you, Corey, because coming into the Van Halen fandom, I knew nothing about, not the fandom and the sort of the history and all that kind of stuff. I just love the music. So finding out that people don't love Sammy Hagar, and then like you say, it's like, oh, people really don't like Sammy Hagar. It's like, I didn't fucking know that either, and it's been a revelation to me as well.
Yeah.
Is my turn now? Can I go?
It's your turn, Corey. Sure, go.
Okay. Well, I have two. One that surprised me was that Little Guitars is as highly regarded as it is to be the number one song in our Twitter poll by our audience. I always liked Little Guitars, but I never thought this is the best fucking song Van Halen ever did. I don't even know if I'd put it in my top 20. I really like it, but Little Guitars really number one. And the other one is that there are any defenders at all on planet Earth for the song Spanked. That'll always shock the fuck out of me, because that song is hot garbage.
Isn't Armbruster one of those?
On Spanked? He might be.
I might be making that up, but
I know Chaz
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, Chaz definitely is a big defender of Spanked. I fucking hate that thing. I hate the riff. I hate the vocal. I hate the lyrics. I hate the chorus. It's the worst song on that record. It keeps For Unlawful from being like a top 3 Van Halen record for me because it has Spanked on it.
Do you think? I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking about some of these questions. Do you think that it's one of the reasons that we love this band so much and why Van Halen are as good as they are is because they really did swing for the fences, and when they missed, it was epic and spectacular. But you wouldn't really want it any other way because otherwise they'd just be putting out sort of. You could just fall back into doing the same thing over and over again. But they didn't do that. They tried out, and not like a full album here and there from Van Halen 3, but they'd have these songs, these outlier songs where you think, the fuck are you doing here, boys? This is just weird. But I wouldn't want them not to not do that, you know?
It's what made them a perfect band to do for a format like this. It's why Kiss worked so well for Pot of Thunder, because Kiss had some pretty high highs and some spectacular lows. and Van Halen, you've got like 3 different eras, even though the Garrett era is really kind of short. You have 2 very distinct eras and very different in a lot of ways. Eddie Van Halen and Alex really being the kind of through line for everything. That was another thing. Appreciation for Alex Van Halen and what he contributed to Van Halen. Because I know originally we're looking at this like, oh, Alex got writing credits. What the fuck did he add? He didn't write any lyrics. He didn't do anything. Alex did a fuck ton behind the scenes. He was the bridge between Eddie and Dave in the early days. So those early albums, you can really thank a lot of that on Alex Van Halen. So that's another thing that I really appreciated was his contribution to the songwriting aspect of Van Halen. But you want a band that swings for the fences. And yet, at least with Van Halen, you only get a few really catastrophe type disasters, like once. Like That's Why I Love You. Or no, not That's Why. Like How Many Say Why.
How Many Say I.
Yeah, that kind of shit. But and then their highs, no band can touch their highs, in my opinion. Like, no band can touch a Panama or can touch a Running with the Devil or literally name 20 Van Halen songs here. Or some of the best songs ever written and recorded. So that's why you want to do a band like, you don't want to do AC/DC with this kind of format. Like, Highway to Hell, yeah, it's good. Back in Black, yeah, it's good. You Shook Me All Night Long, yeah, it's good. Runaway Train, yeah, it's good. Like, it's good all the way through. Yeah. You don't get these super huge highs and these super down lows.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember, because I tuned in fairly early on in the show, and I remember Mark hearing you say that, I didn't sort of realize Alex Van Halen was that good of a drummer. I think he probably is a guy who you can overlook. But when and it's another thing that I didn't realize is I always fucking loved his drumming, because you think this guy can play the nuts off really pretty much any style, and the sound of Van Halen is contingent on what he plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Corey nailed it with everything he said about Alex, and that was true. That was a revelation for me. You guys heard it in real time, because I went in thinking Alex. He's an adequate drummer for the music that they're playing, but nothing spectacular. And then I remember, there were camps of would-be musicians in my youth that would just say like, Alex Van Halen sucks. He was like, that dude can't drum. He might as well be drumming for Metallica, instead of Lars or whatever. But it's like, I said, we shouldn't go that far, but okay. And just completely come around, like almost like full 180 of just, holy shit. No. Alex Van Halen is, the glue that holds it all together. You think it's Eddie. It's not. It's Alex, and he's the foundation with that, with the drums and just his drumming technique for sure. Every time you guys pointed it out, I used to think that I had a good drumming ear, but I was like, nope, I don't know shit. So I'm going to listen to like these guys who actually play or actually really zoned in on it. And just for the first time listening to Van Halen, really paying attention to not just the band as a whole, but the individual aspects that each guy is bringing to the table, like hearing it. Sometimes listening to music like that is not so great, but if you're analyzing it the way we are, it helps. So the revelation of just, oh my God, Alex is really, as Corey says, like he's doing a fuck ton. Why did I never see it? Like, why are my eyes and ears just now opening to this? Why did I not realize it? What's going on? So that's been a monumental perk of doing a show in this format.
Well, and it's that thing that once you get into music podcasting and doing what we all do with our podcasts, it definitely changes your appreciation for the musicianship behind things that you think are simple. So the music itself does some of the changing of your mind on these songs, and you learn how good the players are through the music. But have any of your guests really changed your opinion on any aspect of the band?
Go ahead, Corey.
I got that question earlier. I really can't think of any. I know Chaz has a lot of differing opinions, but I can just disregard them. Even though I respect his opinion, I also respect that he's wrong, especially when it comes to humans being. And that's fine. He can be wrong. He can be as wrong as he wants.
It's true.
Did any guest change my opinion? No, but actually what one guest did for me was have me speak my opinion a little more forcefully, and that was Chris L. from Pot of Thunder, because in the early days, I knew I really liked Alex Van Halen's drumming, but I didn't want to vocalize that because I knew fans didn't, like rock critics always shit on Alex Van Halen. He's one of the worst drummers. He's Lars Ulrich, whatever you want to say, right? They always disregard him. Rolling Stone just, I think, released their list of top 20 drummers. He's not on it, which is just shocking to me. But I always felt bad, because I really liked him. And it was Chris L. who said rock journalists can go, suck a huge fat fucking dick, because they're always wrong. And Alex Van Halen is brilliant. And don't be ashamed to love somebody's playing if it really speaks to you and you really love it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say shit. And if Van Halen fans get mad at me, they're going to get mad at me. And that's fine. But I'm entitled to my opinion because it's at least informed. I'm at least listening to it. I always say you're not entitled to an opinion. You're entitled to an informed opinion. So as long as I'm listening and if I don't like something, if I like something, that's all valid. I love Alex Van Halen. I would put him top 5 rock drummers all time on my list. I know Rolling Stone didn't put him on theirs, but that was one thing that Chris L gave to me, fuck everybody. Cause that was around the time too, that we had that article written for us on the Van Halen news desk, and our listens that week fucking skyrocketed. That was the week we beat Eddie Trunk in the podcasting worlds on Apple Podcasts, which still blows my mind. And 90% of those people dropped off, obviously, because we're idiots, which is fine. But that was the big takeaway. I'm not going to say shit to try and appease anybody, like rock critics or diehard Van Halen fans. If I like something, I'm going to say I like it. I love balance. Yeah. And the diehard Daily Roth guys are going to say, "Oh, that's not my Van Halen," all that horse shit. I don't give a fuck. I like it. You don't have to like it. I like it. I love Alex Van Halen. I think he's a top 5 rock drummer of all time. So that was a gift that one of our guests gave to me. It was like, who cares? Just say what you feel, not what you think people want to hear.
Corey's on that soapbox. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud. That's my dude right there.
I don't think that's ever been an issue with you, Mr. Kamara. Hey, you're not afraid to speak your mind, and a good thing. That's a good thing. It's not a criticism.
Absolutely.
It's I don't know when it started, but it's been a part of me for the better or worse for a long number of years, and I can't quite turn it off. That's why I would imagine
that your first words were, "You call those fucking stirrups? What kind of setup are you guys running in this fucking hospital here?"
No, I say probably more like, "Give me somewhere to shit. I have to shit."
There's a shirt. No. Give me somewhere to shit. The Mark Kamire story. That's his autobiography, folks.
Give me somewhere to shit. And I don't even have IBS or nothing. That's hilarious. Anyway, what were we talking about?
We're just wondering if any of the guests have sort of given you a new perspective on anything, or sort of, brought anything or changed your mind on any part of the band.
I mean, honestly, every time we have a guest who, one of the things I love about, or one of the things you guys know me about for the show is some of my catchphrases. And one of the biggest ones I have is letting you know how we're not rock historians and we're not experts. So whenever we get a guest on the show that happens to be way more in the know, as in they have published books, literature, they run a website that's dedicated to the band. They have all these important connections, all these important stories, those are the experts. Those are the rock historians, the ones that actually live it or have lived it, write about it, tell it, went to it, learn about the the stories, on a very a deep divey kind of way. It's the Deep Dive podcast. Keep it on brand. And so I'm always informed. Basically, I feel like I'm always informed about something really new and really cool about this band that I like, but am admittedly not an expert. And we never claim to be. We just claim to be fans who like the band, who are rediscovering the music, all of it, in its catalog, respectively. And then I will say I will give a special shout out to Scott Monroe, the champion for Van Halen 3. Because and I guess Kevin, you're a champion of Van Halen 3, considering what you guys have just accomplished. Yeah, now you're a champion. But Scott's ever so never ending passion for that album, and him trying to go like, I understand, but hear me out. Hear that, like look at it from this, like, well, do you have the context of this? And he's always got something to say, and he's always about that album in particular. That's even if it's negative, it's not. And I love that. I love that he has been just unyielding in that album in particular. I mean, all of you guys know all the things Scott says, everything he says is informative and insightful, and we appreciate it. But specifically Van Halen 3, who you guys know is not my favorite album of the catalog, but I love his passion for it, and I love how he has convinced me to give it another try. You both did, actually, Kevin.
And actually, I want to throw out a third name there who is positive on pretty much everything, and that's Ryan Powell. We haven't
Ryan Powell.
Yes, we haven't heard a lot from Ryan lately. We hope everything's okay with Mr. Powell. We love him dearly. And I hope you're still listening to the show, my friend. And yeah, he's another one who is just so optimistic on everything. I loved hearing his takes in the Manifesto channel on the Discord, because he got me thinking a little differently on stuff too. So between Scott Monroe and Ryan Powell really helped kind of, shape my perspective on things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and having that sort of, not that you're ever going out looking for it, but the approbation from the Van Halen news desk, from guys like Greg and Eric and Darren and those guys, it shows you that, and I know that, Corey, sometimes you let the dickheads get to you, but it does show you that the people who matter, the people who know the band inside out, they get what you're doing. They understand what the show is. I mean, they got it really, really quickly. So I think that always is a good sign when people who are on the inside, when they get it. Okay, so we've been talking about very positive, and people have been positive. Let's go slightly negative just for a second here. And I'd ask you to think about two songs, one Sammy and one Dave from the catalogue that you had to remove. If you had to scrub it from the Van Halen catalogue with your arm up your back, which Sammy song and which Dave song would you pick? Can
I go first, Mark? I have my answer came very, very quick on this one.
Please go.
And you know what? It's not even spanked.
Ooh,
I know.
So my Dave song, "Dancing in the Street." I hate that cover. I mean, get rid of it. There's 100. I really liked Kevin Brown's idea, actually, of like, let's make one half of Diver Down just Kinks covers, because they've done 100 Kinks covers, I'm sure, in their career. Like, you could have picked like 5-6 songs that are easy. That would have been better than Dancing in the Street. It just didn't fit. So I would get rid of that one easy. And I was thinking about Spanked, but I went with Inside, because that is the song that is keeping 5150 from being a perfect record for me. It is Inside. It's just kind of a joke thing at the end. You want to kind of needle Dave with it? Sure, fine, fuck. You could put an actual song at the end of that record, though, and really make it epic. Like 5150 could have been 1984, in my opinion, for the Sammy era. But Inside just, kind of drops it down. So I always kind of hated Inside for that, because every other song on 5150 is fucking amazing. And then Inside is just this piece of shit that they just got tacked on for whatever reason, I don't know. So I would get rid of Dancing in the Street and Inside, because I think both Diver Down and 5150 would benefit for it.
Well, I'm definitely 50% with you on that, Corey. Mark, which ones did you choose?
For Sammy, I'm scrubbing Up for Breakfast so we can just end this whole. We'll just, I know, yeah, I'll miss it maybe, but the world, I think, as far as our audience is concerned, will be the better for it. So we can just end this pretense. And for my Dave track, probably Little Guitars, so that we don't have that so high on the so we don't have that so high on the rankings, and therefore Panama can take its rightful place up higher where it needs to.
Oh, I'm not mad at that part, but wow, you want to get rid of Little? Wow, okay.
You dirty bastard.
That's my troll answer. My true answer is Honey Baby Sweetie Doll.
Nice.
Okay.
Get that song the fuck out of here. It's so bad.
Oh, I love Scott Monroe. He said if they'd replaced Inside with "I Want Some Action," which is could have been a really, really great tune on that record. Absolutely. 5150 is a perfect record if you do that. I just wanted Jeff Brewer in the chat says Greg Renoff opened his eyes when he connected "Feel Your Love Tonight" to the Beatles with their harmonizing, which you really good on that one. Jay Steyer, hey Jay, welcome to the chat, says Van Halen 3 is Van Halen Slang, the Def Leppard record, way off the normal path in the mid-late 90s when 80s bands were trying different things, trying to stay relevant. I really like Slang. Actually, I might be doing a podcast with Chaz Charles on that one. He also agrees that "I Want Some Action" would have been a great swap for Inside, and Scott Monroe not happy with Mark Kamar, says order in the cart, Mark is out of line. Mark was just
which
trolling
part?
It's all good.
Which part? Yeah,
probably when you wanted to take little guitars out. So it's all good.
It was me. I am Eddie Van Trollen. It was me the whole time. No,
the big reveal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've done the negative then. So the next question for you then is, coming into this podcast, obviously you both had your favorite Van Halen songs. What song is now in that favorite bracket that wasn't there before?
Oh, Don't Tell Me from Balance. I remember doing that one. I think Eric Senich and Kelsey was on that show. And that's one that I kind of disregarded when I first heard it in 95. And listening to it again, like, oh, man, this is right up my alley. I fucking love that track. So that was one that immediately jumped to like the head of my playlist on at least Sammy Hagar era Van Halen especially. So I would say that one.
Cool beans.
Maybe Aftershock. You know,
that's a good one too.
Nice. Because I liked it, but admittedly, I think I even said this on the show. It wasn't one. That album wasn't one I repeatedly, jammed in my youth. So I had limited knowledge on it. But and then in my later years when I listened to more Van Halen, it was still kind of just sort of, it's an okay song, I guess. I'm not going to pay much attention to it. But it wasn't until we got here to the show, we took the journey, and again, I don't listen to Van Halen while we're doing this show unless we have covered the song already. That was the promise I made. Now I can just jam any of it. It's great. But when we got to Aftershock, I don't know, something happened, and it just was like, what's happening in the song? I really, really like it, and I couldn't get it out of my brain. So yeah, I think that's the one that springs to mind immediately. There's probably several other examples, but Aftershock, I think belongs right there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that was probably the one that one of my hot takes is like, what? People don't love that song? What, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But it's super cool that the song that both of you chose is from Balance.
That's right. Scott Monroe says Aftershock is a lucky number 8. Easy to overlook a deep track in that position, even if it's a banger. Jay liked my selection of Don't Tell Me. It's his all-time favorite Van Halen song. And Brett from Dissect That Film says he actually enjoys Inside. 5150 is a perfect album. So there you go. And that's fine.
I don't hate Inside. But you're right. It's not strong. It's not the strongest on the album.
Yeah, there was better choices, I think, than Inside.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's wrap up this little segment here. I've got one last question, and it's specifically for Mr. Mark Kamire.
Oh, boy.
And the question is, what exactly is the difference between a catalog and a discography?
The catalog celebrates the entirety of the published career. The discography is specifically the album, the disc, if you will, the records. Those are the differences.
That is a fucking good answer, because it was a joke question, but you answered it seriously, and I'm totally on board with that now. So.
And I wasn't even prepared. That was right on the fly.
Well, and I'm really glad you answered that way, because I got somebody special to record the intro for season 4. We're getting Michael Anthony served us well for 3 seasons. We're gonna have somebody else introing season 4 and beyond. And I had to come up with different words. Like, I don't want to use catalog twice, so I had to use discography and catalog. So hopefully it makes sense when we reveal, when you find out in August who recorded the intro for season 4.
Ooh, tease.
Little bit.
Okay, well, let's tuck back into some rankings, Corey. We've got some instrumental songs, 15 instrumentals to get through, and they're not all fucking great. There's some gold in there, but there's also some pyrite. So let's dig into how these turned out.
They're okay.
All right, let's get right into it. Again, I'm not going to, be super into this one here. Or let's just go through the actual list here. Number 15 for the instrumentals was Strung Out. Obviously, only got 18 points. To let you know, the difference between Strung Out and Primary, was almost 50 points. It was 18 points for Strung Out, 53 for Primary, which finished in the 14th spot. Tora Tora comes in at number 13. Then we have Doin' Time at 12. Intruder at number 11. Actually, Intruder got some higher votes in there, too. I'm surprised it finished as low as it did. It had 82 points, so 8 below New World. And I'm going to assume New World is up there because of all the Van Halen 3, stuff that's happening, thanks to Kevin Brown and Scott Monroe and Chaz Charles. Number 9 was Respect the Wind. Kevin may not like the title, but I
disrespectful.
I just watched Twister on the weekend, and I always look forward to hearing that over the closing credits. It finished 2 points below the number 8 song, which was 1984. And then we had Sunday Afternoon in the Park. Number 6 was Bellicotherium. I'm going to say that fast in case it should be a ch as opposed to a k. Number 5.
Good job.
I did good. Thank you. Number 5 was Cathedral. Number 4 was the intro to Little Guitars. Number 3, 316. Number 2, Spanish Fly. And number 1, Eruption. I'm very happy with that top 3. Like I kind of go back and forth. 316 has all this emotion behind it because it was for Wolfie. That's his birthday. Mm-hmm. But Spanish Fly, holy God. Like Eddie just picked up like an acoustic for like the first time in his life and just banged out Spanish Fly. Unfucking real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then Eruption, obviously, the number 1 song out of the instrumentals.
Like, who's not putting that at number 1?
There's a couple of people that didn't, I'll tell you.
Oh, my God.
Seriously, there's a couple of people that didn't put Eruption number 1.
Well, don't name and shame, but what did they put up? What beat it out for them?
Other songs that got number 1 votes were 316, Spanish Fly, and Respect the Wind actually got one at number 1. So
I wonder if that's with respect. Sorry, Mark, but I wonder if that's with respect to the Wind or Bellucitarium is. I wonder if that's because they're more fleshed out compositions rather than just being. You know what I mean? I wonder if that plays into it for some people.
Well, for me, it kind of did. I mean, obviously, I have the attack. It's my number 2 was Respect the Wind. And obviously, I'm connected to it because of my feelings for its involvement with the motion picture Twister. And but it just overall, I love the composition. I just love it. It sounds so eerie and awesome. And it had to go up there. So but I agree. I think a lot of the reason why is because it is sort of a more fully fleshed out instrumental track. It's not as iconic as Eruption, obviously, but it's more fleshed out. And then Bellucitherium, for me anyway, with finishing number 5 for me, that was one of the reasons. I love the way it grooved. And I love that it was basically just a full-on track, just didn't have any vocals. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think that does play a part in it.
Any comments from the lurkers there, Corey?
Absolutely. Our good buddy Dan Papathopoulos says, let's be real here. The number 1 slot was reserved. The other 14 songs are what the voting decided. Absolutely correct. Very happy Spanish Fly finished 2 and 316 finished 3. I really debated between those 2 spots. Everything else, to me, it's the top 3 and then kind of everything else. Although Bellucitherium, I think if we put some Mark Meyer lyrics on it, could be a really, really fucking good tune.
That is true. I promise to do that.
Yep. Jeff Brewer says Strung Out was Ed drunk rooting someone else's piano when he was staying at their place. A complete waste of time.
Yeah,
hard to disagree with that. And again, Strung Out had 18 points. Primary had 53. Yeah. So everybody pretty much had Strung Out dead last.
It kind of does sound like he just lifted the piano lid and just started slapping the strings with his cock.
Exactly.
It's just, I don't know what's going on in that.
It was Lars's kid on the drums, just with.
Well, this piece is called Lick My Love Pump.
Oh, that's the wrong song.
I'm actually kind of shocked Tora Tora was so low. I dig Tora Tora.
It's number 8 for me, yeah.
It was my number 7. Jesus. Lars.
Lars.
The one that surprises me on this, though, and I'd get your guys' opinion on this, is Sunday Afternoon in the Park, because that was my second last.
Okay.
It was my 11. Was not big on that at all.
You know, I kind of dig that one. I had it middle of the pack for me. And I know like our good buddy Scott Haskin had that number 1 on Fair Warning.
Wow.
And like it's a pretty cool piece of music, but I want to acknowledge this because Tara Armbruster is the one fellow who reached out to me and said, are we counting the Woman in Love intro? Which of course we're not, because it's not a track. It's just the beginning of the song Woman in Love.
Yes. Yeah, it's part of the song, man.
Yeah, he's saying it should be in contention. Had they separated that as a track, I think it finishes top 5 because it's really, really good. But it's just the beginning of the song, so you can't do that.
Yeah, well, when that Redux album by Kevin Brown and Scott Monroe drops, I will make a special note for, hey, you hear him, Kevin, separate the intro.
Yeah, all right, that's easy.
Jeff Brewer says 316 was a ripoff of Ed's Live Without a Net solo from 5 years before Wolf was born.
That was my number 4. I really dig 316.
My number 4 too. But he honed it and polished it and made it into, not just part of a solo. He made it into a beautiful little homage to his kid, which I think is, and I think probably it was Chaz who voted at number 1. I would imagine, because I know that Chaz loves 316.
Probably.
Yeah. Scott Monroe says, I dig Sunday Afternoon. It gives me 80s horror movie vibes. Exactly. I thought it was from a Friday the 13th slasher movie, which I grew up on. So I totally agree. And then Jeff's like, well, if we're going to just partition off the intros to songs, and the intro to Mean Street should be on there too. We've now reached the quota of how many times Jeff Brewer is allowed to mention Mean Street on a podcast, because holy fuck, every single week.
You ran out of your Mean Street.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. We're going to be halfway through season 4. We're going to be talking about an extreme song. We're going to be talking about Wholehearted. Yeah, it's no Mean Street though. I love Jeff.
Let's have some fun with set list, boys. Let's talk about
let's do
how
it.
we sequence this.
All right.
But I'm gonna throw something out though before we actually start digging into your actual set lists. Because I got a little game. We like our little games on our podcast. And I got a little game for you that I didn't tell you I was going to throw at you, and it's to do with these set lists.
Oh boy!
There are so basically, Mark and I said to Mark and Corey, 15 main set songs, 3 encore songs. Your instrumentals, your solos are free. And so I thought I'd play along as well because I thought it would be nice to have 3 and a little bit more competition for these places. So there were 54 spots, 18 times 3 available. There were 29 songs selected between the 3 of us. Okay, so what I want to know for the first question is, what do you think the breakdown is between Dave and Sammy? So whoever gets closest gets a point, and you get a bonus point if you get it exact. So I'm going to flip a coin here. Heads or tails, Mark?
Heads.
Heads it is. You get to go first.
Oh, man.
So I want to know, out of the 29 songs, what is the split? I'm giving away that there were no Van Halen 3 songs selected. So you 29 songs. Right. How many Dave? How many Sammy?
Oh, I see. It's like Dave and Sammy for Corey's list. And yours?
For all everyone's combined. So there were 20 between the 3 of us. There were 29 songs selected. How many Dave? How many Sammy?
All right. Probably 20 Dave, 9 Sammy.
Okay, Corey, what's your guess?
Do I have to give exact numbers because I've been having some whiskeys here? You
got to give me a number, but we're not playing Price is Right.
Okay.
We're suspending the Price is Right rule for this game.
Well, I'm going to think it's closer. So how many songs in total? What's 18?
29 total.
29 total? I'm going to say 15 for Sammy. No, 15 for Dave, 14 for Sammy.
15 to 14. Well, I can tell you that it is 16 for Dave and 13 for Sammy. So, Corey, you get the first point.
Yay!
Okay, so we'll do the same thing. Breakdown. We got 29 songs. How many were singles? And how many were non-singles? So your turn to go first on this one, Corey.
Okay. I'm going to say 21.
21 singles?
Yep.
And 8 deeper cuts. Mark, what's your guess on this one?
19 singles.
19 singles and 12. Okay, well, the answer is 17.
Really?
Singles and 12 album tracks in our 29 songs. So it's 1-1. Mark gets a bonus point. No, gets a point. No bonus points so far. Okay. So out of the 3 of us, so this is not the 29 now. Out of the 3 of us, who picked the most songs from the Best of Volume 1. And it's over to Mark to guess first.
Probably me. I'll say me.
Okay. Corey, who do you guess?
Can I say Mark as well? No, that'd kind of be cheating, wouldn't it?
You can.
I'm going to say.
I mean, it'll split the vote, but you can. There's no rule on saying you can't. You don't have to go opposite.
Oh, fuck. Because it's probably Mark, to be honest with you. I know he put some deep cuts on there.
Okay.
I'm going to say, yeah.
You're going to say Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in reverse order, we'll go. I picked 5.
Yep.
Mark picks 9. You picked 10.
Really? Oh, wow.
So I think I should get a point. I'm giving myself a point for bamboozling you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
So out of our picks individually, who had the biggest split between Sam and Dave? So let's say I picked, I don't like David Lee Roth, as is well founded. I picked 17. Let's say I picked 17 Sammy songs and 1 Dave song. That would be a difference of 16, right? So who had the biggest difference?
I'm going to say Mark. I'm going to say Mark had the biggest difference.
So you think Mark did?
Yeah.
Of the three of us, or
of the 3 of us, yeah.
I think you did, Kevin.
Okay. Well, what do you think then? I'll give you both a chance for a bonus mark, because obviously one of you got it right. But the bonus mark, what do you think exact difference is? How many more Sammy songs than Dave songs, or Dave songs than Sammy songs?
I think you have. I definitely think you have more Sammy songs.
Okay. How many more?
I think you have maybe I think you have 5 more.
5 more. Okay. Corey, what do you think? How many more songs does Mark have? What's the difference?
I think 4.
You think 4, and I'm assuming you think probably 4 Sammy?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in reverse order again, Corey has 9 songs from each. So there's a differential of 0. Mark, you have a differential of 2. And my differential is 6.
Ooh.
And we'll wait till we get to the set list so to find out, is it as predictable as I am? Is it going to be a 6 swing for Sammy? Or am I going to rip up the rule book and go 6 more for Dave?
There's no way you win 6, Dave. There's no way.
Okay, so I think that was Mark. You got that one right?
I think.
I'm pretty sure you got that one
Oh,
right.
I
You
think
did.
I
You got
did,
that one
didn't
right. You got that one right, yeah.
Really?
So, the last question, sorry, is what are the top 3 most represented albums between the 3 of us? So you get 1 point for each you get right, and then a bonus point if you get all 3. And that's to Mark first. What are the top 3 albums?
Collectively with the 3 of us, the top 3.
Top 3
I'm going to say, do I have to say them in which order or just name 3 of them?
Just name the 3. Yeah, not in order.
Okay. I think Balance is 1. I think 4 Unlawful and Van Halen 1.
Okay, so you're okay. Corey, what 3 are you picking?
Van Halen,
Okay.
4 Unlawful, 5150.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that one of you is getting the bonus.
Corey.
Because one of you got it dead on. So just let me write my scores down here. So, with 4 songs represented, tied is 4 Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which apparently I can't say, and 5150. And with 5 tracks out of the 29 is the Van Halen debut. So Mr. Morissette scoops in right at the end. So our final scores. Mark with a very creditable 4. And Corey with a slightly more creditable 5. So Corey Morissette wins yet again.
Eat it, Kamire.
Want to see? There it is. We always said you are the brains behind the operation, this whole thing. So there's your credibility.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm not the brains of anything.
So Scott says, are your set lists also representative of playlists you have, or are they more true set lists you'd like to see live? Okay, well, I'll answer that question first then. I went about mine in a different way than I ordinarily do. I've gone for, thematically, what would I want to go? What do I want to go and see? What do I want in a Van Halen show? And I want to see fun in a Van Halen show. When I saw Van Halen live, and it was just a lot of fun. So I've crafted my set list to be the fun side of Van Halen rather than being representative of what my favorite albums are, or necessarily even sometimes what my favorite songs are. So that's the way I approached it. Corey, how did you approach putting this set list together?
I went with the set list I want to see live. If this is the ultimate Van Halen show, all the frontmen put their bullshit aside and they put together the best fucking show. That's why I'm split right down the middle with Dave and Sammy, but I do have Gary involved on one song. I actually haven't come out and singing one song. So to me, this was my ultimate. Like, I've never seen Van Halen, and that's going to just haunt me till the day I die. But if I could, everyone could kind of come together, if Eddie was still around, and they did a show with all the frontmen, this is the show I would want. I would want another 10 fucking tracks. Kevin only gave us like 18 songs, which is, barely an hour and a half. Like, come on, these guys would play for 2.5 hours. They would put on a McCartney-esque show, 26, 27 songs. Instead, we had 18. So that's how I approached it. It wasn't so much a playlist, but what do I want to see Van Halen play in the ultimate Van Halen set list?
Okay. Well,
that was
Mark?
That was my approach as well. It was what do I want to see live? The best of all worlds. It's a fantasy booking, right? Okay. As Corey said, the boys put their bullshit aside, and it just said we're literally putting on a show to fan service is the term. It's like, what is the ultimate fan service show for me? That was the list I put down. But also I wanted it to feel like the tracks could flow together pretty smoothly, or at least thematically. I tried to get that across. I don't know if it actually did, but I wasn't too angry, and I had to change a few songs out a few times, and eventually, it was just I had to stop. So, yeah.
Well, you got to bring your A game when it comes to sequencing when you got Mr. Corey Morissette on the call, because he goes hardcore on that stuff and he rips you apart if you don't think about it. Well, I just want to give you a few little, maybe surprising little tidbits and stats kind of stuff here. There were, for each of us, there was at least 2 albums that didn't get a single track in the playlist, which I thought was interesting in of itself. Obviously, there was one album that didn't make any of our lists, and I don't think it'll be any surprise when I tell people that, of course, was Van Halen 3.
What?
I did, I toyed with Dirty Water Dog. But, maybe I bring... and he is the reason, though, that I wanted to do it.
You're a Dirty Water Dog.
Listen to our redux of it. Listen to the re-edits of it. And my plan for that was that we were going to have a guest drummer. And Stuart Copeland from The Police was going to come out, and he was going to play drums on Dirty Water Dog, and Gary was going to come out in the encore and do that. But I thought...
It's Dirty Pool, you can't do that.
No. But I threw it to one side. Okay.
Like I said,
we've gone down to sort of through the breakdown. We got 16 Dave songs total and 13 Sam songs, which I think is a really nice split, and it was a little bit unexpected, I thought. And then, that's on the. I've done that wrong. No, I've done that. Ignore that.
Okay.
Edit point, Corey. Edit point. I fucked that
I
up.
don't edit this. I got to get this ready to go. I go to Toronto tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, let's dive into it then. We'll do main sets first. And I'm going to start with you two guys, and I'll sort of tell you what I was thinking after we've been through your sets, because it is your show after all.
Well, I do have the graphics in here that you created, Kevin. Set list 1, 2, and 3. Do you want to bring in 1, 2, and 3 and have the people in the chat vote? Because I'm curious to see who has the better set list.
Do you want to load this? Are we going to load it up into? Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do that first, then, and then we'll go through.
Here is ultimate set list number 1. We won't tell you who this is, but Kevin, go ahead and run down the set list if you like there.
Okay, so your 15 main set list songs would be Pound Cake, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Unchained, Panama, Cabo Wabo, Feel Your Love Tonight, Little Guitars, Everybody Wants Some, I'm the One, Hear About It Later, You Really Got Me, Best of Both Worlds, Summer Nights, Hot for Teacher, and Top of the World. And then the encore is Jump, Dance the Night Away, and finishing up with 5150. So that's set list 1.
Oh, that's 3. Let's do 2.
3.
There's 2. Sorry, let me just.
You bringing it over?
Yeah, I was answering somebody in the chat too.
Okay.
There's 2.
Okay, so set list number 2. Unchained, Ain't Talking About Love, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, And the Cradle Will Rock, Dance the Night Away, Hot for Teacher, Panama, Pound Cake, Humans Being, 5150, Aftershock, Runaround, Dreams, When It's Love, Top of the World, closing out the main set, and then the encore of You Really Got Me, Best of Both Worlds, and Jump.
Ooh.
All right, so here comes number 3.
So number 3 starts off with Eruption, You Really Got Me, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Unchained, Seventh Seal, Right Now, Aftershock, And the Cradle Will Rock, Pound Cake, Dreams, Panama, Atomic Punk, 5150, When It's Love, finishing up with Jump in the main set, and then beginning the encore with Bullet Head and Humans Being, and finishing up with Ain't Talking About Love. So have a think about those set lists. Let Corey know in the chat or wherever we're doing that, and let him know which one you prefer. And then we'll reveal whose set list is whose. I will tell you guys that one of the things I was interested in looking at is how much overlap there was between us. Mark, you and I had an overlap of 6. There were 6 songs that are in both of our set lists. I thought that might be higher. It was 6.
Yeah, I thought it might be too.
You and Corey only had 5. So you're quite different in your set lists.
Right.
Myself and Corey had 11, which again really quite surprised me. But let's talk about it. So we've sort of gone through the songs that are on there now, and obviously Jeff Brewer is fucking seething. So let's talk about some of the surprise omissions. Mean Street doesn't make any of our set lists.
It was close for me. It was really close.
It's a really late cut for me.
Yeah.
It was one of the. I told you, Kevin. I probably changed the encore a bunch of times because I just couldn't settle. Mean Streets almost made the final cuts.
Pretty Woman didn't make it. I wasn't as surprised with that one, but I kind of thought maybe it might sneak in and around the edges of it for Corey, possibly.
I'm not shocked.
Running with the Devil doesn't make it. The first song from the first album.
Pretty Woman almost made my list, and then I realized I wanted something else instead of it, so it was close.
You realized you weren't drunk? That's good to hear.
Well, you don't know I wasn't drunk.
But yeah, Running with the Devil doesn't make it, which again was a pretty late cut for me. I mean, really, really late for me, because I looked at my set thematically and I thought, no, I want something else in there. How does Running with the Devil not make it for you guys?
For me, it was overplayed factor. To me, it was between Running with the Devil and Ain't Talking. And it's like, what do I want to hear when I go to a Van Halen show? I've heard Running with the Devil a million times. I've heard Ain't Talking About Love a million times. I would rather, I think, hear Ain't Talking About Love live than Running with the Devil. So that's why I went with that one.
For me, I think it's because my list started with a particular momentum, and I couldn't find a spot where Running It with the Devil could fit within the parameters. We only had 15 songs to choose and a 3-song encore, and I couldn't find a spot for it. I know that sounds weird when you see what my list is, but it just didn't make it.
Right. Do you want to know how the chat is voting here?
Let's go.
All right, Kevin Brown, you got your pen ready?
I will. I'll get my spreadsheet going.
All right. Dan Papathopoulos votes number 3.
Okay.
Scott Monroe votes number 1. Jay Steyer votes number 2.
Ooh, we're split.
Yep. Scott Everett votes number 2. Josh Caldwell votes number 1. Tom Armbruster votes number 2, because I'd go with 3, but someone put Bullethead in there, so he went with number 2. Jeff Brewer votes number 1. And that's all we have so far.
Okay.
They're currently asking how many times did they play Pretty Woman live. Apparently the answer is 336. And none of us had Pretty Woman yet.
I would say that the biggest hit, I think, that got left off by all 3 of us is Why Can't This Be Love?
Right. And I know for me, it became between that and When It's Love. It's like, you can have one, you can't have both.
Yeah.
And When It's Love to me is a little more iconic, a little better song. So that's why I went that route.
Was a pretty easy one for you?
Yep.
Just looking through. I want to see if they played that when I saw them live. I can't remember.
In 04?
Yeah. They did play it, yeah.
Okay.
Just before Eagles Fly, yeah.
So how are we looking here so far? I know 1 and 2 had a ton of votes here.
We're three for
think-
number 1, 3 for number 2, and 1 for number 3 so far.
Okay. Should we maybe, because we have kind of a tie at the top spot, you want to go through those again?
Sure.
Or is that just overkill?
I mean, I can go through them again. Okay, so
we need a winner.
Whoever, what we could say to break the tie, because I think you got 7 viewers right now in the lurking, right?
Yeah.
So whoever, I can't remember who it was who voted for number 3. Let's do it by sort of that process, that voting system that works in New Zealand, where they do sort of a staggered ranking, where we've eliminated number 3. So now you have to choose, whoever that voted number 3, you have to choose between number 1 and number 2.
Okay. Nope. Good idea. So let's start with number 2.
So number 2, I'll rattle through them a little bit quicker. So Unchained, Ain't Talking About Love, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, And the Cradle Will Rock, Dance the Night Away, Hot for Teacher, Panama, Pound Cake, Humans Being, 5150, Aftershock, Run Around, Dreams, When It's Love, Top of the World with an encore of You Really Got Me, Best of Both Worlds, and Jump.
All right. So that's set list number 2. And here is set list number 1.
The number 1 is Pound Cake, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Unchained, Panama, Cabo Wabo, Feel Your Love Tonight, Little Guitars, Everybody Wants Some, I'm the One, Hear About It Later, You Really Got Me, Best of Both Worlds, Summer Nights, Hot for Teacher, Top of the World, and an encore of Jump, Dance the Night Away, and finishing up with 5150. So our swing voter. Who are
Okay.
you going for?
Well, right now we have Dan says, I'm the tiebreaker because I voted 3 in round 1. He's going 2.
He's going number 2. Okay.
Jeff Brewer, not happy with that, says, no, Daniel, don't vote number 2.
Well, I mean, should we reveal then? Who's this who's?
Like,
I know who's this who's.
I kind of do too. You can kind of tell by what songs are.
Well,
Yeah.
let's try and guess then. Okay, because you two, I obviously know all 3 because I compiled them. Corey, who do you think's number 1's set list is?
Clearly, number 1 is you, Kevin Brown.
Okay, so is there anything about that set list that surprises you?
That surprises me.
Mhm.
That there's as many Dave songs on there as there is. You have Hear About It Later. I'm the One.
You do.
Everybody wants
You
some.
do have a lot of Daves. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of Dave in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting Dance the Night Away in your second to last and encore. That's a choice.
Yeah. Well, I'll
That's
walk you
interesting.
through why I did it that way once we get to that.
Okay.
But let's tell people then, okay, then who was number 2? Who won? And he's going to be fucking insufferable about this
It's
now.
Corey. Yeah, Corey was absolutely the giveaway was Runaround right there, but for me anyway.
Well, and here's why. Jeff Brewer says number 2 list blows. I wanted to split between Dave and Sammy. So here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the first part of the set is Dave. We have Unchained, Ain't Talking About Love, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, and The Cradle Will Rock, Dance the Night Away, and then drum solo leading into Hot for Teacher in Panama. That was my first 6
Yeah.
tracks. And then Dave leaves, Sammy comes out, does Panama, Pound Cake, Humans Being, 5150, Aftershock, and Runaround. And then we have Dreams, When It's Love, Top of the World. So that's kind of the Sammy
Oh,
portion.
you want Sammy to do the Panama?
No, sorry. Dave does Panama. Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say. I was like, oh,
No.
I didn't know we could do that.
I've had some whiskeys.
So you
it's
can mix and match however you want.
Yeah. And then the
Well, then.
encore, I have it leading off with the guitar solo. And I specifically picked the guitar solo from 2015 that has snippets of Mean Street, Little Guitars, Cathedral, Eruption, and Spanish Fly. So that leads us into You Really Got Me, but Gary Sharon comes out to sing You Really Got Me. That was my kicker. We do include Gary, but he sings You Really Got Me. And then Sammy comes out to do Best of Both Worlds, and then Dave comes out to Jump. That was my ultimate Van Halen set list. It's split evenly, and You Really Got Me is given to Gary.
So which were the hardest cuts for you on that set list?
They were all impossible. I had Hear About It Later for the longest time on there. I had Running with the Devil for the longest time. I had Black and Blue because I thought we need an OU812 track. And Black and Blue is my favorite one. That was on there for the longest time. Summer Nights was in there for the longest time. I could have extended this by 10, 20 tracks and been very happy. The fact that you only gave us 18 songs was fucking impossible. But I wanted, if my ultimate Van Halen concert had an equal number, Sammy and Dave, and then the cover, I'm going to give that one to Gary because I wanted Gary involved too.
Okay, Mark, walk us through your set list.
It was essentially there wasn't a moment where it was going, okay, here's the Dave section, and now here's the Sammy, and then here's the, like, it wasn't like that. It was more like let's just take you on a weird sort of Van Halen journey. That's why it begins with Eruption and You Really Got Me, because there's just like, let's give you a snippet of something you remember. It's from our early days, right? Like, and just what a way to come out to the set with Eruption of all things, you know, to like, hey, y'all remember this? Like the most iconic solo of all time. We're just going to start with it. It's not going to be the only solo I do, but we're going to start and go into something familiar. You Really Got Me, big hit. And then, yeah, it just kind of progresses with a certain momentum. If you see after that, Sammy gets in there. I wanted Seventh Seal, the fifth song, just as a way of after Unchained. And you kind of get that sudden stop. What do you follow that up with? The lights go down and you get the monks chanting, and it's like, and here comes Sammy.
That's
you
cool.
know, it's just like something like that. And, you know, it just progresses that way. The two of them, they trade off. I would, however, when we get to the encore, and I wanted the encore, the last song, to be what I think would just get everyone just so amped. And how do you not get amped listening to Ain't Talking About Love? But I want Sammy absolutely singing it, because his live version is one of my absolute favorites. That's that. Essentially, it was a particular momentum with just a few little ebb and flows, and then back to a certain momentum. That's why Bullethead's on there.
That's good, because Scott Monroe specifically asks, explain Bullethead, Mark.
I wanted the encore to come out swinging. And I don't know, maybe I was just feeling bad that I did not appreciate A Different Kind of Truth as much as apparently you all did. And I don't know. I kind of dig the way Bullethead flows. So I was like, here you go. If I'm going to pick a Dave song to hit him with it, it's something unexpected, Bullethead.
I dig Bullethead. I have to address someone in the chat here. Dan Papathopoulos says, Corey, you say 18 songs was impossible on a Van Halen-sized catalog. It was your idea, I think, to do 18 on an Aerosmith-sized catalog. I thought that was mission impossible. First of all, 18 songs was John Mariano. Not my call.
Yeah.
There's no way I could distill Aerosmith down to 18 songs. I would have been like a fucking double cassette, double CD, double vinyl, whatever the hell you want, 3-4 cassettes. There's way too many Aerosmith hits to put on 18. So that was very much a John saying we're going to do like, and eventually it was only going to be one mixtape, so it's going to be like fucking 9 songs. Like how do you distill, you know, right? Like it started off very small, impossible. And I eventually talked him into doubling it because Aerosmith has such a tremendous and fantastic catalog. So yeah, it wasn't my idea, my friend. That was John's, and we ended that experiment a little early. I don't know how I would have distilled the Aerosmith catalog down to 18 fucking tracks. Holy cow, what a catalog. I'm
just thinking of it on the top of my head and like, no, you couldn't have done that, because you would would leave out so many others, and it would be so unsatisfying.
Oh my
That's
God.
impossible.
18 from the first era, like before, like Done with Mirrors On, and then another 18, you know, from the Geffen years. Like, fuck, like impossible. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before I run you through my show, I wanted to just kind of tell you guys which songs we picked were the same, because there was an interesting little curio, I thought, that in the first 4 songs, on all 3 of our set lists, we had Somebody Get Me a Doctor and Unchained. So you had Eruption, You Really Got Me, Somebody Got Me a Doctor, Unchained. Corey opens with Unchained, Ain't Talking About Love, Somebody Get Me a Doctor. So I thought that was kind of cool. And we also had Jump in the set list in similar spots. So I open my encore with Jump. Mark, you close your main set with Jump, and Corey, that's your closer, your show closer. So I think that's it. It speaks to what that song is, right? And I'm really glad that all 3 of us included Jump, because it's the song that everyone knows. Yeah, it's the song that Van Halen fans, never need to hear again. It's all those things for sure. But it's got to be in there.
You got to do it. 100%.
It's like, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably people thinking like, you got to do that with Running with the Devil, and you guys didn't. Like, I get it. I know, but it's Running with the Devil's not Jump. Everybody knows Jump.
That was the number 1 hit. It was their only number 1, right? It's like Aerosmith doing I Don't Want to Lick Your Thing. It was their one number 1 single. They have to do it.
Except Jump's good.
Except Jump is good. Thank you.
Except Jump is good, yeah.
Well, so the other songs that we all picked, the other 3, were You Really Got Me, which was all over the map for us in terms of placement, Pound Cake, and then 5150, which again was sort of spread liberally throughout the set list. So let me run you down where I came. And again, I spent way too long thinking about this when I should have been doing work today. Open with Pound Cake. I think if you're going to put Pound Cake, I mean, it's just such an iconic opener. And then if you listen to follow-ups Pound Cake with Somebody Get Me a Doctor, the transition coming out of Pound Cake then into Somebody Get Me a Doctor is epic. It's fantastic.
It's pretty good.
Come out of there from Somebody Get Me a Doctor into Unchained, which I think that's the one you had, Mark. That was your transition as well, which I think is perfect. Then, and I'm keeping the energy high here all the way through the set list. It's all fun all the time. Panama. Then you go into Cabo Wabo. Then we bring Sammy. So I'm factoring in cocaine breaks for Sam and Dave. I'm factoring, they're going to need 5-10 minutes to go off stage, get a little bit of white powder up their nose to carry on, right?
You're
then
so
we
thoughtful,
go into
Kevin.
then we go into Feel Your Love Tonight. At the end of Feel Your Love Tonight, Ed stays on stage on his own and he rips into his solo, which incorporates Eruption, Spanish Fly, 316, Cathedral snippets. Then he plays the intro to Little Guitars, which leads into Little Guitars. Then we get Everybody Wants Some. With Al's drum solo leading into it, because there's, the sort of the jungly vibe at the beginning of that song. So we get Al's doing his drum solo in there, just a bit of doing time. That leads us into Everybody Wants Some. And in the middle of that song, we get a 3-minute extended monologue on whatever Dave Lee Roth whatever the hell is going on in that crazy time brain of his. So we use that little time in the middle for Dave to have his moment. Then we go into I'm the One. We pick it up. From there, we go to Hear About It Later with Mikey's bass solo leading us into it. And he duets with Ed on that guitar intro. So I'm going to take in something a little bit different that I don't think they ever did, but I'm going to go that direction. Then You Really Got Me. Then Sam comes back out to start sort of bringing us home. We get Best of Both Worlds, Summer Nights. We get Hot for Teacher with a special guest appearance from Wolfgang Van Halen on bass. Top of the World. Gary Sharon comes out to close the main set to duet that one with Sammy. We kick off the encore with Jump, but it's played in with the tape playing the 1984 instrumental. Dance the Night Away, 5150 to finish. It's the perfect finale song, but Van Halen's got about 20 of those.
Don't agree.
Go listen to that
Lame.
set list.
Forget
it's
it.
fucking epic.
Don't agree. Lame. Forget it.
Nope. Stupid.
So people need a bit of time. We'll put it. Hopefully, you guys put this up on Twitter too, just to see what. And it's not a competition. It's definitely a competition. But we just got to see what people's preferences. So, but don't just tell us which one. Tell us why, because it's always interesting to see what people's takes are.
Exactly.
But yeah,
So,
I surprised myself with this.
I want to go next with myself. I talked about a little bit. Scott Everett says Unchained being an opener is always going to give that set list an advantage. Best opener of all time. And that's what I went with, right? You're opening with Unchained. So imagine lights go down. You play a little retrospective of the Dave era, little clips here and there. Then they kick in with Unchained. And then Ain't Talking About Love. And then Somebody Get Me a Doctor. And The Cradle Will Rock. Dance the Night Away. And then lights go down. Alex Van Halen lays down a fucking killer drum solo. Actually, the drum solo I picked out from the Fuck Tour that incorporated a little bit of Pleasure Dome, which works much better as an instrumental than it did as a track. That leads into Hot for Teacher and then Panama. And then Panama is the big fucking closer. That lights go down again. We have a retrospective video of the Sammy years, Sammy quotes here and there, maybe a little bit of their Farm Aid fucking set. And then you hear the drill. And then Pound Cake. Then end up Humans being 5150, Aftershock, Run Around Dreams, When It's Love. They finish off at Top of the World, which is probably the best closer of the Sammy era by far. Lights go out. And then you hear again, you're getting Eddie comes out and he does the solo from 2015 where he plays little bits of Eruption, Cathedral, Little Guitars, Mean Street, all that stuff in that fantastic fucking solo that kicks into You Really Got Me. And you expect Dave to come out, but no, it's fucking Gary Sharon. And he fucking kills You Really Got Me because he's a great vocalist and he's going to fucking nail it. And then he leaves. Sammy comes out for Best of Both Worlds to sum up his era, and then Dave comes out for Jump. And actually, all three vocalists come out to do the last little bit of Jump. Big triumphant ending. Fireworks are going off. Fucking, it's rock and roll all night. There's streamers everywhere. It's the perfect ending to a perfect night. That is set list number 2. Mark Meyer, tell us a little bit about your set list and how you saw it going.
You enter the arena, it's dark, the lights go down, but then suddenly there's a light on Alex coming in, and suddenly there's a light in front of you, and it's Eruption. They begin Eruption. They're giving you the they're reminding you who they are with the song, the most iconic guitar solo of all time. It's a solo, even though there's Mikey, there's Alex, they're there with you. They all come into focus. We start with that, leading into You Really Got Me, because they want to remind you of that familiar feeling you might have had spinning Van Halen 1. It's it's like, hey, remember this part of the album? Awesome, cool. We follow that with Somebody Get Me a Doctor. Then with Unchained, we're keeping that momentum pretty high. We're just like, it's high octane right now. But then right after Unchained, it hits that fades to black for just a moment. You hear the Monks coming in, and it's Seventh Seal. They've begun Seventh Seal, and there's Sammy. Where'd Dave go? We don't know. Maybe he's taking one of those aforementioned 8-ball breaks. Could be. But there's Sammy in his place, and he's doing Seventh Seal. It leads into Right Now, because it just absolutely should, followed by Aftershock. We're bringing that momentum. We kind of slowed down just a bit for Right Now, but we're building the momentum back up with Aftershock. But when Aftershock goes and the Cradle Will Rock, there's Dave. Hey, Dave, he's appeared again. He just sort of somersaulted his way onto the stage. It's amazing. They spared no expense for this stage production. Anywho, but he goes out with the Cradle Will Rock, but then suddenly there's Sammy. And because they have just launched into Pound Cake, maybe he's even holding the drill for Eddie this time, because Eddie's busy. And Dave doesn't go anywhere. He's just up there rocking, because, they're cool in this show. They're cool with each other. Followed by, after Pound Cake, we go with Dreams. We're going to get we got to bring the feels to the crowd, but not for long, because Dave's still on stage. He takes the mic, and we're launching into Panama, because you can be feeling all the love you want, but you got to be partying as well. Panama. And right after Panama, he's got to remind you, hey, sometimes it's hard. So I'm the atomic punk. Let me remind you, Sammy. Sammy's still on stage. He's just there taking it. Dave's just like, I'm the atomic punk. He sings at him. But then Sammy kicks Dave off the stage, catches the mic, grabs his guitar, and they launch into 5150. He's like, I'm going to show you how this is done, son. And then When It's Love, because Sammy's got to bring it back to the feels, because he can do it. He can sway you. But then as the song suggests, we go with Jump, because Dave has sprinted. He has jumped back onto the stage unfazed, and he's going to sing Jump, and Sammy's going to play guitar on the song. He's not going to sing it. He's going to play guitar on the song while Eddie is doing the keyboard stuff. But of course, he's going to go back, take a back seat when that solo, because you're not going to stand in front of Eddie solo. And that is the end of the show. We finish with Jump, but it's not the end, because we got an encore. Something a bit unexpected, though. They want to familiarize the crowd with their set, yes, but they want to give you a little taste of something just sort of maybe not fresh and new, but something different. And that is why we launch into Bullethead. We're bringing that high momentum back up. And then once Bullethead is done, Sammy, from the shadows, he emerges, and it's Humans Being, and there's a light show happening. Maybe there's a screen, and it's just playing clips of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt running from the F5, or just play the whole damn movie. Honestly, that would sell a lot of tickets. Anyway, Humans Being, and it's gorgeous, it's wonderful. But then the lights go down. Sammy takes the stage. Dave's right there with him, but he's like, nah, man, you take it. Gives him the microphone, and we close it out with Ain't Talking About Love, sung by Sammy Hagar. That's right. And that is how we go out.
I would go to all three shows. I got to be honest with you.
I would too.
Actually, in heartbeats. In a heartbeat. I mean, I think it shows, though, again, it exposes how damn good this band is. It really was very, very difficult to get this down to 18, and, the lurkers, the fine patrons, let's see them in the Discord, because I'd love to see other people's lists. Yes. And what didn't make the list is staggering, and yet all three of those, like you said, it's just an absolutely A1 top shelf. I mean, apart from bullshit, the first song of your encore there, for me, and again, let's talk quickly about, because each of us had, Mark, there was only one album that you didn't have represented in your set list. And it's the same one, or one of the ones that Corey didn't. Nothing from Dive It Down makes it for either of you guys. And I know that obviously Dive It Down is maligned in some quarters. You guys kind of rediscovered it and found a lot to love about that album, yet nothing makes it into your set lists.
Yeah. I personally, I don't know how you felt about it, Corey, but I didn't want too many covers on the set, just based on the fact that we could only have so many songs. because of you, Kevin, you son of a bitch. But so when I was just thinking of songs off the top of my head that I was like, well, obviously this one's going on. Where Have All the Good Times Gone was right there. It was like the third song I wrote. And it just got edged out. In hindsight, maybe I would replace it with a Bullet Head, but it's fine. I'm sticking with my story. I liked the fantasy I created. But that was very close. Pretty Woman seemed a bit obvious, but I was just like, I don't know. I wanted to. All these other songs just sort of took precedence based on the flow I was building. So.
For me, Little Guitars was tempting with that intro, but Hang 'Em High was on my list for the longest time. That was my track from Diver Down. Because I thought, geez, I should represent every single album. And I said Black and Blue from OU812 was my track there. All mine would have been a good one too. But Hang 'Em High was on there for the longest time because I thought we need something from that record. I love Hang 'Em High. And Little Guitars was a close second for me. But yeah, a lot of that album is kind of forgettable for me when you think of stuff like, Dancing in the Street and Happy Trails, Where Have All the Good Times Gone, which is fine, but it's not fantastic. I'm one of the few who really like Pretty Woman and their cover of it. But Hang 'Em High was the one for me. I just want to point out that Tom Armbruster says, starting with Eruption makes no sense to him. I agree. Which one of us had Eruption first? Help me out again. Was that
I
you,
did.
Mark? Yeah.
I did. I stand by it.
I mean, I think it's one of those things though that if you start with that, it's a real statement of intent. It's really coming out saying, "Fuck you lot, let's get ready for this."
The very first track is Eruption.
Exactly.
It's almost kind of downhill from there.
Yeah. Well, Corey, the other album that obviously we're putting Van Halen 3 off to one side, but the other album that you didn't pick anything from was A Different Kind of Truth. And that did surprise me a little bit because, again, I know there are a lot of songs on that album that you really come to quite enjoy.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people who really like that record, but there's no real standout. Like, She's the Woman is kind of the standout for me. And that one was on my list for the longest time. But, and I'm one of the few who really like Tattoo as well. I dig that tune. I dig Chinatown. I dig Bullethead. I thought it was kind of cool that Mark put it on there. As Is really good. Out of Space is pretty decent. Stay Frosty, if you want an Ice Cream Man kind of replacement, that's a good one. Beats Working is good. To me, it's a really solid record. I know you don't like it, Kevin. A lot of people, it finished. We'll find out where it finished on the album rankings, but She's the Woman was a tough cut for me because I thought if I was going to represent anything from A Different Kind of Truth, it would have been that one. And yeah, bringing Wolfie out would have been really cool to play on She's the Woman. So that was a very tough cut for me, actually.
So if you had, so let's do this then. And we're not going to change your final set list, but if you did have to pick one song from A Different Kind of Truth to replace something on your set list, it sounds like it's She's the Woman. Where are you slotting it?
Where am I slotting it? Well, I'm taking out a Dave song probably, right?
Well, if you want to keep your representation, yeah, that's...
Okay, so what am I taking out? Oh, fuck me. That's it. We only got so many Dave songs, right? Maybe...
Well, flip it over so people can see while you're cogitating.
All right, good call. Maybe Cradle? I don't know. You got to play Cradle though, right? I don't want to lose Dance the Night Away. I'm definitely not losing Hot for Teacher or Panama. If I had to take one out for She's the Woman, it'd probably be Dance the Night Away.
Okay. Yeah, they're similar kind of... They're in a similar kind of ballpark. They're doing a similar job, right?
Yeah.
In that sort of fifth spot. That's probably a good call. I think that's not a bad call. Mark, if you had to pick one song from Diver Down and transpose it into your set list, which way would you go?
Oh, well, if it's from Diver Down, then I put Where Have All the Good Times Gone in place of Bullethead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that would be
That's
kind of a
kicking
cool...
off your encore? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a good riff, man. It's a good riff.
I know you're a Kinks dude. That's not my favorite Kinks song either, though. But
oh no,
it's okay to lead off an encore with that, though. You put that in the spot where people want to go to the bathroom or pick up merch, right? That's
yeah,
2 or 3 from the end of the main set. You don't put that leading off the encore.
Well, see, my only album that I just couldn't get a song.
Well, it's between that or a Pretty Woman, and I don't like I was saying.
Oh,
like,
no. Let's leave that.
It's not going to be little guitars.
It was Balance that I couldn't find space for, and which really pissed me off because I fucking love Balance. And I think Balance 5150 is my favorite Sammy era album, and I mean, I think it's close between 5150 and Balance for being the best of the Sammy era. There's so much really inventive, creative stuff on Balance, but I really went with that party Van Halen vibe through my entire set list and dropped songs like Running with the Devil and, and The Cradle Will Rock. So I couldn't shoehorn in anything. The only thing I could think of was Amsterdam, because it's the only one that fits them all. But I'm like, I just can't put Amsterdam in this set list. So I looked at Cabo Wabo. I thought, can I switch that up? But then I've got nothing from OE812. So Balance was the one that ended up losing out for me, which was quite sad.
I'm a little jealous. You got Cabo Wabo and Feel Your Love Tonight in there, and Little Guitars, and
Dude,
everybody
come
wants
on.
some. Like, yeah, I kind of like your set list there, Kevin.
It's a good set. Yeah, it's a real good set. Both of y'all.
It's even just as a playlist for just fun, bouncy, fun times Van Halen. Check it out, give it a listen, boys. Even if it wasn't your favorite. Okay, set lists are done. We'll put those up online and let you have a complain about them and a bit of a whinge. But we'll move on to the album rankings, Corey. Let's get into this, because this is going to be interesting.
And it really was. And I tell you, I was getting rankings like all throughout the day, and it kept changing. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bring up the album art and kind of how it finished. And I'm going to play a little bit of a song from that record. So here's what finished number 12. Oh, to no one's surprise,
Predictable.
Van Halen 3 comes in at number 12. And you know what? It wasn't even close. Unfortunately for Van Halen 3, 18 points for Van Halen 3. The album that finished in 11th had 32.
Yeah.
So pretty definitive Van Halen 3, according to our patrons, the worst, I don't want to say the worst, least favorite of the Van Halen catalog. So.
And I'm assuming that on the call, I'm the only one who didn't have it in last. So,
probably.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to say Scott Monroe didn't either.
My having Van Halen 3 in 11th place instead of 12th is really on the strength of that redux. Scott Monroe has definitely almost 180'd me on that album. There's so much. I mean, yeah, okay, look, put aside the production, put aside a couple of those things. I think the musical ideas that Ed was coming up with on the album are phenomenal. I think they're fascinating. I think it's super interesting. And I just prefer it to, again, I've called it a backward step and I got in trouble for it, but different kind of truth ends up in my 12th spot. So moving on, I'm assuming that
Mark, where did you have Van Halen 3? Was that your lowest rank?
Where do you think? Yeah.
I mean,
do I need to elaborate? It's just like, look, no disrespect to the Redux. The Redux is fantastic because, I mean, just the work itself, like, that's incredible. But yeah, no, I have never said anything too positive about this album. So yeah, it's last.
All right, let's move on now to number 12. That's my favorite track off A Different Kind of Truth. It finished in the number 12 spot with 32 points. A big gap between 12 and 11, but an even bigger gap between 11 and 10. So not a lot of love for A Different Kind of Truth at number 11. Like I said, I really like this record, but there's nothing on here that really stands out to me as being top level Van Halen.
Yeah. And I'd said to you, Corey, we were chatting offline when I'd sent you my rankings, and I'd said that I'd be surprised if this was really low, because I thought that, Different Kind of Truth might go past something like OU812, because we do have that Sammy Dave split, and the sort of the majority tend to be on the Dave side. So I thought that the Dave Comeback album might rank a little bit higher.
Yeah, no, I was kind of surprised too, and it was pretty definitive in number 11. Most people have this rank second to last. Mark, where did you have A Different Kind of Truth?
I too was at 11. And I'm just as shocked by that because, as Kevin said, just from the Dave Sammy split of it all, one might assume this would be higher just on that alone. But for whatever reason, I guess I'm just misremembering our journey through A Different Kind of Truth. I thought everybody else was way more keen on this album, like yourself, than I was. So I thought I was going to get a lot of pushback for having it in this spot, but lo and behold, that's crazy.
Hey.
It was definitely going to be my last Dave album. That was just a given.
Well, I definitely put a Sammy record lower than this one. But I tell you what, it's not.
You're wrong.
Where did you have it, Corey?
I'm just going off memory here because I didn't actually. I think I had it at. I think I had it at like 10. Like it
Okay.
wasn't like high for me.
Oh, I see.
But I definitely had a Sammy record lower than it. But
I'm assuming that was OU812.
I just want to listen to She's the Woman. No. Let's find out what finished number 10. Because, yeah, it was this one right here. Oh, and this one kind of hurts a little bit. Cause it was.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
That does hurt a
Balance.
little bit, but
Was number 10 with 50 points. So,
Lame.
Full 18 points ahead of A Different Kind of Truth. But, oh, man, I ranked Balance much higher than number 10. This one kind of shocked me.
Where was it for you, Mark?
it was number 8 for me, so not a huge jump, but still, I didn't think it deserved to be in the bottom tier, but it's kind of mine's sort of like middle to bottom tier. And I love Balance. I enjoy it now more than I did in the past, which was minimal, but still. But if I'm just being honest, 7 albums before it, I just kind of hold a little bit higher. That's not to say that there aren't individual songs that I can just pluck out of Balance and be like, well, obviously this one. But yeah, it just number 8 for me.
It was my number 6. I adore this album. Like I said, there's only one Sam album above it for me. And they're in order, funnily enough. So
Yeah.
or there's 3 together, I should say.
Well, I had it well above the album that finished number 9.
Oh,
Which
you dicks.
When It's Love comes from OU812. Finished off at number 9. 57 points, only 7 points ahead of Balance. I don't know. I have such a love-hate relationship with OU812. There's some good tracks on here, and there's some not-so-great tracks. I personally put Balance ahead of this one, but the patrons and everybody, when the votes shook out, OU812 finished at number 9. Mark, where did you have OU812?
Number 6, man. Like, it was almost in the top 5. No, I love this album, and that's not a diss on Balance or anything like that, but man, I was just being really honest with myself and how I feel about the tracks on OU812, and they're not all winners, but the ones that there are more winners than losers for me on OU812. So I don't know, man. I dig it.
Kevin Brown, OU812, where did it finish for you?
Yeah, it was number. I lost my bloody. Oh, there we go. Yeah, number 8. I mean, like Mark said, I suspect that the issue with this album is that people really, really don't like the production. The sort of that sort of thinness of the drums, and there's definitely those issues with it. But again, it's an album that it was one of the first albums I listened to, one of the first Van Halen albums I listened to. I've always got a special place. I think there's some absolutely top shelf songs that, and I think maybe with OU812 is that there's a really good consistency with it, but it doesn't have that 1 or 2 just absolute 10 out of 10 stone cold bangers for everyone. But I think that's maybe also where it suffers a wee bit for people.
Yeah, well, very good. I had OU812 ranked below Balance, actually. This is my lowest ranked Sammy record. But now we're
Mine's
going
to 10.
we're going to come to number 8, which is an album I had actually ranked number 11. My second lowest ranked record. And yes, it's Diver Down.
Fair.
Kind of suffers from being rushed. A ton of covers. Not all of them necessarily work. It had 61 points. So that's 5 above OU812. So Diver Down finishes at number 8. There's some real standouts on this record, but when you're actually ranking the discography of Van Halen, to me, this was number 11. That's where I had it ranked. Where did you have it, Kevin?
10 for me, yeah. I mean, it's so I've got Van Halen 3 in a different kind of tree below it because, again, a couple of real highs, Hang 'em High and little guitars, and Cathedral's so fantastic, but it's just got too much filler on it for me, you know.
Yeah. Fair enough. Mark Meyer, how about you?
Also number 10, and I dig this album. You know, I've got a special love for it. This journey has, you know, brought that love out. I appreciate it, but kind of as Kevin said, it's a lot of filler. Not all the songs like are strong. They're great. The ones that are great, and then the others are just kind of eh. So, I wasn't going to put this like too low, but it just didn't feel right putting it any higher than that. And so, yeah, you know, number 10 I thought was probably the right place for it. So,
all right. Well, this one's going to anger some people.
I'm furious.
I know.
All of you.
Somehow, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge
And yet I'm not
finished
shocked.
at number 7. 83 points, well above Diver Down, but below the number 6 record. Oh my God, this is top 5 Van Halen for me.
And you all damn well know it.
How this finished
Come
number
on,
7, I'll never
guys.
know. Mark, go ahead. Let him have it.
This is my number 2. Like, come on. I mean, on a different day, it's my favorite. It's just, it's the fuck album, you guys. And I know what you're gonna tell me. Like, well, you know what brought it down was Pleasure Dome or Spanked. You know, they're gonna say that, or they're gonna say, well, it's not a Dave album, and you know, the middle fingers to that, man. No, For Unlawful is easily. I personally, and no disrespect to an album we haven't covered yet, but we will. But this is easily, I think, Sammy's like best go with the band. I know some of the songs don't jive with a lot of people, but man, I just nostalgia might play a heavy role in it. I don't care. This album's great. It was my number 2. I'm very upset that you guys didn't even make it to the top 5.
Oh my goodness. Kevin Brown, where did you have For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge?
It's my number 7, and I mean, I will say
Kevin.
that 7 through 1 was a bit of not a crapshoot for me. So the way I ended up going about it was, okay, I'm going to go through and pick off how many average songs do each of these albums from now on have for me. And this is I mean, again, its highs are so high, and I love it too. I mean, it is one of my favorite albums, but I just like 6 albums better than it. It's like you said, right? But I think just on average, I think there's, you know, Pleasure Dome, Spanked. I don't hate them like a lot of people do, but they are, you know, that next tier. Dream Is Over, Man on a Mission, are sort of in that average, slightly above average field as well. Do I love them as part of the album? Yes. But it's just not quite enough to get it up above 7 for me into that top half.
All right, fair enough. Well,
Or speaks sense into him.
I had For Unlawful like 4. Love this fucking record. It is fucking brilliant. Coming up at number 6, though, is an album that I described as solid all the way through, but not necessarily spectacular. Oh, yeah. Women and Children First comes in at number 6. You know, good tracks on here. Not great tracks.
Is it number 7, Corey? Oh, hang on. Sorry, no.
Number 6. No, I was right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing. I'm not that drunk yet. Jesus. Number 6, Women and Children First. Solid all the way through for me. We have Cradle. We have Everybody Wants Some. We have Fools. Romeo Delight. Lost of Controls on this. Take Your Whiskey Home. In a Simple Rhyme. A lot of great tunes here. Better than For Unlawful? Not for me. But Kevin Brown, where did you have Women and Children First ranked?
Yeah, I had it number 5. It's one of the 5 10 out of 10 albums for me. It's the first Dave era album that I bought on vinyl when I started rebuying them, even before the Van Halen 1, which I know is mad. And I'm not saying that it's a better album than Van Halen 1, but there's just something about that album that's always jived with me. You know, it's just that thing where you connect with an album sometimes, and pretty much like everything off it, even Tora Tora, which isn't, you know, it's an instrumental, but everything else, I don't think there is anything that's below average on that album. I think it's super consistent. Really good album.
Scott Monroe says Women and Children is the least cohesive of the DLR albums. Strong tracks, but doesn't flow great. I don't mind the flow so much. There's strong tracks, but it's not. There's not that kind of huge track that elevates this record for me. Mark Kmeyer, go ahead and tell us about it.
I had this at number 7, so it's right below where the audience had it. Yeah, it's a good album, to be sure. Got some great tracks. I don't dislike it, but if I'm being honest, I think it's in terms of the Van Halen catalog, it's a bit more of the mid-tier of their albums. Some would say that's absolutely false, but for me, that's where it landed. And so number 7 for me, and number 6 for everyone else. Yeah, that's mid-tier. That's where I think it belongs. So, you know, it's not a diss. That's just where it fell. You know,
it's kind of cool though, Mark, that we're heading into the final 5 here, and there's a Sammy album has made the top 5, which
I know.
Wouldn't have necessarily called that. I mean, obviously it's 5150. We haven't covered that album, and I don't know whether it'll get any higher than 5th. But it's kind of gratifying to see that. I don't know if you'd sort of done this poll at the start of you guys doing this podcast. I don't know if Sammy would have cracked the top 5. I'm not sure.
Probably not. Probably not. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know. It's also part of me. Like, do I want to give us that much credit? I don't know. Like, inflate our egos. However, I personally feel like at least 2 of Sammy's albums deserve to be in the top 5. But since it's not going to happen, it was going to be, you know, 4 Unlawful or 5150. And since we know it's gonna, I think you're right. I think it's not gonna get past number 5 likely, but I don't know, because now I'm starting to wonder if people really enjoy Van Halen 2 as much as we thought. So I'm not sure.
We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have
fair warning too, right? Because it was that departure from party rock Van Halen into that darker sound. So I'm kind of curious. We're just saying, Corey, that it's kind of gratifying that we do have a Sammy album in the top 5. And I was mentioned that I think that had it been at the start of this podcast journey that you guys have been on, Adam, I'm not too sure if it would have cracked it. And Mark was saying that he didn't want to take too much credit, but I'm just speaking for myself, and I'll see. We're kind of interested to see what other people think of this. I think the temperature has changed a little bit. I think you have swayed some people. They're not Sam guys, but I think you've got people over a little bit further than maybe they were, because I think you've done a good job of being even-handed and criticizing Sam when he needs it and bigging him up when he deserves it.
Scott agrees. He says Sammy Crack in the top 5 is also a testament to our Patreon community. Twitter would never allow that. He's exactly right. So we're down to the top 5, and I got to tell you right now, it's not even a Sammy track here either. Oh, this one hurts because it's my personal favorite Van Halen record of all time.
I called it.
Van Halen 2 at number 5. And things are really close in this middle section here. So Wounded Children first had 95 points. Van Halen 2 technically tied with the number 4 record, but because the number 4 record had more first place votes, it's ahead of it. They both had 97 points, though, but Van Halen 2 comes in at number 5. What a great fucking record. It's still my favorite Van Halen record of all time. Mark Kmeyer, I know you've appreciated, and I was actually shocked at where you ranked Van Halen 2. Had you ranked a little bit higher, you would have been the tiebreaker between number 5 and number 4.
Well, just before you came back, Corey, I had just told Kevin, I said, there's a good chance that the Sammy record we're talking about hits number 5 and doesn't go any higher. But then I said, there's a good chance people don't love Van Halen 2 as much as we thought. So that might have a shot. And here we are. I had this at number 4, so just one slot above it. And that does... I've waxed poetic about my love for this album, and all of that reigns true. But as I told Corey earlier in the day, after he had a panic attack when he saw that, like, what? Number 4? What? I went, look, the other 3 albums, through the journey of this show, ironically, just sort of those tracks started to speak to me a little bit more, my overall feelings of the album as a whole. But I could not put this at least in the top 5, and it made it to number 4. And I'm just as shocked about it as well. But that's just them's the bricks. So Kevin, how about you, man?
Well, Corey's going to be upset with me, but it was my number 9. I've said it before. I think I said it in the chat or whatever on the ranking show. It's not because I think it's a bad album. It's not, of course, it's not a bad album. It's a fantastic album. But where I land with that one is Van Halen, the debut, Women and Children First, Fair Warning, and 1984 out of the Dave era all move the needle for that band in one direction or another. They do something different. Van Halen 2 is just, it's the other half of Van Halen 1, so it's more of the same. And I'm always looking, because we know how good Ed was as a musician, as a composer, and what Mikey and everyone else brought to the band. I want something different, and Van Halen 2 just doesn't give it to me. So that's why I'm down. I'm putting it, and it's still above Dive It Down. And Dive It Down's kind of the same as well, apart from the guitars being the standout. We've kind of heard most of that stuff before.
Fair
which
enough.
is my main criticism. Yeah, so that's why it's in 9. Like I said, what am I going to listen to it front to back? Am I going to skip anything? Of course I'm not. And you're just playing Somebody Get Me a Doctor. Give Me a Break. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, not just Van Halen.
My hardest cut probably was this song right here, DOA, in my set list, because I don't disagree with what you said in your course. Entitled to your opinion, because it's informed. You listen to both records. I think this is the better half of Van Halen 1. Just personally, shit like DOA and Woman in Love and Beautiful Girls and Spanish Fly, Lap the Sky, Out of Love Again, fucking Murderer's Row. I love this album so fucking much. Van Halen 2 comes in at number 5. And I'm not even mad at that, because there's so many great records yet to come.
Yeah.
Including this one here. The highest ranking Sammy Hagar album. 5150. I can't wait to get to Toronto. I'm flying out tomorrow. I'm going to see Sammy and the boys. They're going to be doing When It's Love. They're going to be doing Good Enough. They're going to be doing Summer Nights. They're going to be doing 5150, Best of Both Worlds. Fuck, what a great record. Comes in at number 4, technically tied with Van Halen 2. But more people ranked 5150 with the number 1 vote. That's why this one finishes in the number 4 hole. Kevin Brown, 5150. I know our buddy Brett from Dissect That Film says it's a perfect record. I say it's just off a perfect record because of Inside. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's always been my favorite. It was the album that introduced me to Van Halen, so that's always going to make it special. It's got Summer Nights on it. It's got 5150 on it. It's got Dreams on it. It's got Get Up on it. I mean, it's just front to back. I mean, I like Inside because I like the frivolity of it. I like the silliness of it, and that sort of fuck it, let's throw it on anyway. It's just a bit funny. I just think that it sounds. I know that a lot of people don't like Ed moving away from that brown sound. To me, again, it's that evolutionary step, and what an album for Sam to come in front. You get those vocals and those screams that he did on 5150 and Dreams. I mean, it's a powerhouse album. I think it's just an absolutely fantastic, stunning piece of work. It's
amazing. Scott Everett is wondering what in the actual hell Kevin Brown, which is a question I ask every single day. He also says it was 1 year after Van Halen. How much do you want them to change in a year?
Well, I mean, they changed. Okay, well, how many years after Van Halen 2 was Women and Children First? It was a year. Yeah. How many years after Women and Children First was Fair Warning? It was a year. So, there's the answer. That's my answer to the question.
There you go. Mark Kameyer, your thoughts on 5150?
It was my number 5. It had to make top 5. I appreciate this record more and more and more, like, every day. I appreciated the songs that I knew in my youth before knowing that they were from 5150 specifically, but, like, I knew Dreams. I knew Why Can't This Be Love? I found a new appreciation for. I went many a year without the appreciation of 5150, and I'm so sad that it took me so long, but holy God, is that title track a banger, as we have waxed poetic nonstop. It's great. The whole album is great. I know a lot of people aren't big on Inside, and I'll grant you it's not the strongest of the entries, but overall, it doesn't take away for how just spectacular this album is, and what an accomplishment for the band. Yes, it was an accomplishment for the band. Given the time, given the situation, it's tremendous. So yeah, top 5 easily. Number 4, awesome. I'm proud of you guys.
Great fucking record. I'm not a fan of Inside. Love Walks In, the whole alien thing I could kind of do without. But you get rid of Inside.
It's great. You love it.
Oh, I don't know if I say
just
it.
listen to
I love talking about it.
I mean, look.
Exactly.
I think the thing with Love Walks In is I think people get hung up on those fucking lyrics too much. And and no one knew that that's what it was about until Sam opened his stupid goddamn mouth. Take the Bob Dylan approach, leave it, let people make up their own mind on it. Musically, as a keyboard player, like I said, I mean, if you just want, all you want is the Brown sound guitar solos, fine. I understand that. But as a musician, when you listen to that as a keyboard player, it's superb. It's every bit as good as, somebody get me a doctor is in guitar terms. Love Walks In is as interesting as a keyboard player.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
You don't play fucking keyboards.
That's a very good point. And you barely do, too. I'd like to point out, just because you own a fucking Casio doesn't mean you're a keyboard player. Doesn't mean you're Robbie Joffe.
Yeah, I'm going to send you my full
Depeche
version
Mode.
of Fading Lights that I recorded. Every single piece.
Oh, no, don't do that, you motherfucker. All right, time for the top 3. I tell you, and this is another record that I knew I always liked, but didn't know it was as good as it fucking was until we did this show. Oh, that's right. Fair Warning comes in at number 3.
Yeah.
It's 103 points, so it's 6 points ahead of 5150. This is another one that is just like solid from top to bottom. We're listening to Mean Street, which I know is Jeff Brewer's favorite track of all time. Then you got shit like Dirty Movies and Sinner Swing, and Hear About It Later, which is one of my favorite Van Halen deep cuts of all time. Unchained's on this fucking thing. Push Comes to Shove. So This Is Love. Sunday Afternoon in the Park. One Foot Out the Door. Holy hell. Fair Warning at number 3. Starting this journey, I would have said no way in hell. Today, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, this one kind of fell pretty low for me. This was my number 9, and it's only just because it's not a commentary on how I think the songs are. It's like, I don't think the songs are that good. No, it's not that. It's just I don't have the same sort of connection with that album that I get from 8 above it.
Yeah.
And also there's a few of them that does nostalgia play into it? Probably, yeah. And that's fine. And I mean, obviously, Unchained is part of that nostalgia, and I love that song. We love Mean Streets. We have talked ad nauseum about Mean Streets. But yeah, I rate these as the albums as the whole and how they impacted me, and how they do impact me, and how the journey influenced that. And for now, Fair Warning comes in at number 9 for me, but it's still a fantastic record. Do not get it twisted.
Kev, this is the one album I didn't think you'd be that big of a fan of. Where did you have Fair Warning?
Well, I did number 4 because, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got... I'm pretty sure I knew what 1, 2, and 3 was going to be, and I was pretty sure this was going to be number 3, but 5150 is just too big for me to not put at the top. But this is the album that has jumped up the rankings most for me from listening to your podcast. I'll probably, if you'd asked me this before I listened to any of the shows, I'm like just cold, I would have said that this would have been one place above Derby Down. Because I didn't think that I love this record as much as I do. It's one that I went out and bought again. I went out and bought on vinyl. I was like, well, I've got to have this album because, Hear About It Later, Sinner Swing, Dirty Moves, and Mean Street as a side of a record. Fuck me, it's off the chain. And then side 2 opens with Unchained. Yeah, like it's just showing off. There's no need for it. It's just showing off. Now, Sunday Afternoon in the Park, I'm not a huge fan of, but when I'm listening to the album, it's one of those things where it's got to be there. I don't love it, but it's got to be there because it's part of the album, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's just a phenomenal record. And again, I think that evolutionary step away from Women and Children first, it's so dark and it's so different. It's like this freight train that just hits you. I love it.
I think Scott Everett summed it up pretty well here. It's the guitar player's favorite album. They love it, yeah. Like, just the work Eddie's doing on Mean Street is fucking crazy. And I love that Mark still calls it Mean Streets just to piss off Jeff. The commitment to the bit is just so strong with my buddy Mark Kammeyer.
Oh, I'm committed, all right.
So number 3, so that leaves just 2 records, 1984 and Van Halen 1. Let's start with Kevin. What do you think finished number 2?
If it's not 1984, I will paint my arse green and show it at the top of the street. And there's a church just over the road at the top of my street.
I've seen that church. It's massive.
Massive. No need for it.
So you're saying
no need for the ceiling to be that high. 1984 has got to be number 2.
1984 is number 2. Van Halen 1 is number 1. Mark Kammeyer, what do you think?
Well, I was going to say 1984, but now I want to say the opposite so that Kevin can paint his ass up on and show a church. So that is so hilarious to me. No, I think it's 1984.
Well, I got to tell you, number 1 and number 2 jumped around all day. Like at one point, I was waiting for Kevin's rankings to break the tie because it was tied for the longest time. Kevin broke the tie. Then I got in 2 more ballots from, I think Matt Lacoste was late. And there was another one that came in a little bit late. They were jumping around all fucking day. It was really kind of, up in the air, which was going to finish at number 2. It was this one here. 1984, the number 2 record according to our patrons. My goodness. Why am I playing Jump? I should play this one. Yes, motherfucker!
Not even playing your own favorite song, you idiot.
I am an idiot. Thank you very much. Panama is the best song they ever fucking recorded. 1984, my introduction to Van Halen. I got to tell you, I had this one number 1. A lot of people had this one number 1. It finished with 115 points. 12 points ahead of Fair Warning. Only 3 points behind Van Halen 1. 1984, what a fucking record. Kevin Brown, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I had it in number 3. Again, I know that 5150 is not a better album than this. I think that essentially this album is flawless. I think it's front to back. It's kind of almost impossible to split it apart from Van Halen 1. Can you just look at the track list? I mean, even the instrumental, the intro, I think is phenomenal.
Yes.
Presages that new. We're going in a different direction. This is going to be good. Get ready for some synth. All you meathead guitar players who don't want me to ever play keyboards, well, you might not like some of this album. You get into Jump. Again, it's iconic. I don't think there's too many songs. We Will Rock You by Queen. I don't know too many songs that are more well known for that band than Jump. Panama, fucking, like you said, the best hard stop in rock history. One of the best endings. Top Jimmy, Drop Dead Legs. I mean, that's a great side. Hot for Teacher kicks off side 2, and then Our Wait is this very, very different, massively sort of anthemic, thematic thing. Then you get Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain, which are 2 album tracks that are so far above most bands' best work that it's just criminal. So, I mean, 9 tracks. It's lean, it's tight, it's really well produced, well written. What a way to go out if you're the lead singer.
Mark Kammeyer, what are your thoughts on 1984?
I had this at number 3. But that's only because, I thought Foreign Lawful deserved to be number 2 in my mind. But, I know I'm the only one that thinks that. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's 1984. Panama, Hot for Teacher, House of Pain, Jump, I'll Wait. Like, all of the, I mean, this is a front to back banger. And I am not one of those opposed to the synths and the keys. I think when Eddie decided to incorporate it more, it gave the band a new synth, some gravitas, if you will. And I think they matured as songwriters after that. I have talked about this. I know none of you agree with me, but that's what I believe. Therefore, 84 number 2, only because there was one album that absolutely has to be at the top because it is what it is.
It really kind of did, didn't it? We're talking about Van Halen 1, of course. The number 1 record according to our patrons. 118 points, only 3 points ahead of 1984, but fuck, it's a perfect record. It really is. Mm-hmm. The question I keep jumping back and forth is, which is better, this or Appetite? Appetite for Destruction for best debut record of all time. Miles. I vote Van Halen. Miles. I know a lot of people might, lean towards Guns N' Roses. For me, it's Van Halen 1. Holy cow.
Appetite's not in my top 10. Debuts,
Really?
Man. I like
Oh, wow.
it, but it's not in my top 10. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic debut, to be sure, but I don't know if it would make my top 10. It might, actually, but I mean, it depends. But nothing I think stands against Van Halen 1 in terms of debut albums that is just wall-to-wall bangers, man. Like, just
Perfect.
absolutely nonstop. It's a damn near perfect rock album. Yeah, and if you don't think so, then what? How do you Van Halen? How do
You're
you
listening
Van
to the
Halen?
wrong show. If you think Van
it's
Halen
like,
1
you know.
is a perfect record, my God. Just Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love, I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, Atomic Punk, Feel Your Love Tonight, Little Dreamer, Ice Cream Man, and On Fire. Holy
Fire the whole way
motherfucker.
through.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
just
it's
the whole
perfect.
way.
It's absolutely perfect.
And I know I've ragged on Ice Cream Man, but again, it's one of those songs that, but it's gotta fucking be on there because it's just banging.
Yeah,
You know?
It's fucking
it's a
good.
bop, as the kids say, or they did say that.
Yeah. So number
It's
one.
It's one of those things that, and I think I said this on the ranking show, that it's to me, I think it's the last truly genre changing album in rock history. I think if you look at sort of Black Sabbath before it, some people might say Zepp 4. If you go to something like, the Blues Breakers, or if you go to one of Cream's Disraeli Gears or something before that, there aren't that many serious touch points where the game just completely changed forever. This is, for me, probably the last one. It's like, they didn't just kick down the doors of rock and roll. They dropped an A-bomb on its house, then they rolled up in a 68 Chevy drunk and pissed on the ashes. Like, they just fucking trounced everything. Every other guitarist went, well, the fuck are we supposed to do now? How are we supposed to follow this kid? There's never been anything like that since.
That's very well said. It reminds me of a poet who once said,
Life is a permanent limp dick with an occasional blowjob.
cannot agree more.
Well, this is not a limp dick. so therefore, it must be a blowjob.
There you go. So
Once again, I'll just run them down real quick. The album rankings from our patrons. Number 12, Van Halen 3. Number 11, A Different Kind of Truth. Number 10, Balance. Number 9, OU812. Number 8 was Diver Down. Number 7, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Number 6, Women and Children First. Number 5 was Van Halen 2. Number 4, 5150. Number 3, Fair Warning. Number 2, 1984. And number 1, to the surprise of virtually no one, Van Halen 1 with 118 points, finished as the top record according to our patrons.
Well, there you go, boys. You've done it. You've talked about this entire catalogue and discography.
Yes, sir.
The Kings are dead. Long live the Kings. Let's talk about phase 2 and what comes next.
Well, what comes next is solo shit.
yeah.
So what we're doing, and
Solo shit.
here's a plug for our Patreon, because if you want to join our Patreon, we just had a few folks sign up, which thank you very much. You get a say in what we cover in upcoming seasons. So what we're going to do is, before every season, I'm going to put up a poll of a Dave record, a Sammy record, a Gary record, and a Wolfie/Mikey record. And you get to vote on which records you want to put on the wheel. So season 4, we're going to have Eat 'Em and Smile from David Lee Roth, Marching to Mars from Sammy Hagar, Extreme 2 Pornography from Gary Sharon, and because it actually tied with the very first Mammoth WVH record, we're putting that on there too. So here for the first time, for all the folks on the call and the folks watching on YouTube, is the season 4 wheel. 48 tracks encompassing Eat 'Em and Smile, Marching to Mars, Pornography, and Mammoth WVH. I can't wait. Those are 4 great records, and I can't wait to dig into it.
That's going to be a monumental. Look at that thing, man. It was like, that's going to keep us busy for quite some time. And I love the variety, man. So it's not going to feel stale. It's going to be a new perspective on things, probably very fresh for many of us. So, man, I'm looking forward to it. Kevin, what's next, man?
Well, let me ask you, which albums in this now, because you've got a lot of albums to pick from now, right? You got a fuck ton of Sammy albums, which I don't think you're going to get through all of them.
Right.
You've got, 3 albums from Roth, I don't know, is it 3 or 4? And then you got,
like
a couple
5.
Mammoths, you got some Extremes. Which albums are you most looking forward to digging into? Maybe outside the obvious ones? And how well do you know the catalogues of the solo catalogs of David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar.
Well, for me, I don't know him very well at all. I know David Lee Roth probably better than the other guys, except for Mammoth. I know those two records really well, but I'm really looking forward to A Little Ain't Enough from David Lee Roth. I love that record. I remember listening to that in school. When no one else was listening to David Lee Roth, I was listening to A Little Ain't Enough. I love that record. VOA from Sammy Hagar, obviously a great one. I can't wait to get into some of the Sammy and the Wabo stuff, or even Sammy and the Circle, which I haven't heard a ton of, because there's a lot of great musicians on that. So I'm looking forward to that. Extreme, really any record. I really like Extreme. I'm going to go see him in September. I can't wait. I haven't listened to Waiting for the Punchline a ton, so I'm looking forward to that one. But Pornography was a big album for me when I was growing up. I know each song inside and out. We're going to cover that on season 4. And Wolfie is absolutely killing it. Both Mammoth records are phenomenal. I don't listen to a ton of new music, but I got both Wolfie records on vinyl. They're both amazing. I can't wait. Chickenfoot was I didn't really get deep into Chickenfoot, so a little Mikey in there too. Looking forward to that one as well. So I'm going to get a lot of first-time listens in season 4 and beyond, and I can't wait. It's going to be a shit ton of fun.
How about you, Mark?
Oh yeah, all of it. My knowledge in as big a fan of Sammy as I am, there's a very large gap of his resume and his catalog that I'm missing because he's got so much. So I'm very much looking forward to diving into that and really all of it. As Corey said, diving back into some Extreme. Haven't done that in a long time, so that'll be fun to do that and to really check out or analyze what Wolfie's up to in Mammoth, because that's some really good modern rock, and yeah, just all of it. Really, I'm opening my mind to all possibilities.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to you guys digging into Chickenfoot at some point, because I know that I don't think either of you really listen to very much, but I mean, you look at that band. It's pretty insane. I mean, Satriani, Smith, Bonham, Michael Anthony, Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you can get close to calling that a super group. And I love too that they a little nod back to Traveling Wilburys with Chickenfoot, because the two albums are called Chickenfoot and Chickenfoot 3. So they've missed.
Oh, it's absolutely a super band.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. It's absolutely a super group, and yeah, I love that callback too, because Wilburys went Volume 1 in Volume 3, and Chickenfoot did the same thing. Very cool.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up then, boys, because we've been a couple of hours and a bit now. So I just wanted to close, first of all, on the behalf of myself and all the patrons, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time I hosted for you. Thank you so much for what's been an amazing 2 and some almost 3 years of listening to you guys talk about a band that we all love and that you brought me back to. The perspectives have been brilliant. The community that you built is amazing. Some of the guests that you've had on are always worth listening to, whether it's for entertainment value or for their incredible knowledge on the musical side, on the history side. I've learned a shit ton, and again, it's enriched my love of this band. So what have been the most positive aspects of doing this podcast so far?
Well, for me, it's easy. It's the people that have joined us. Whether you're a first time like patron, like Scott Monroe was right there, Scott Everett, Ryan Powell, Chaz, Tom, like all the guys who jumped on early, join us in the Discord, kind of ride the highs and lows of this, or even new guys like Dan who just commented. He said this was his first show lurking along. He really had fun, but more importantly, thank you for taking this journey and bringing us along. So that to me sums it all up. Scott Monroe says it too. The community you guys have built is incredible. Thank you for that. To me, by far, that is the best experience. Like, I loved rediscovering this catalog with my good friend Mark. And to be honest, I wasn't sure when I asked Mark to go on this journey. Like, Mark and I were kind of acquaintances. We got along. We were doing movie trivia stuff. We were part of this other podcast group. We'd guested on each other's shows. And we got along. But I'm like, you know what? Mark and I have, even though there's a big age gap, we have kind of similar sensibilities when it comes to stuff. Like, I wonder if this would work. And after 145 shows, I can tell you with all honesty, I still look forward to every single Wednesday because I get to hang out with Mark and talk about music. Even when we don't agree, I just enjoy hanging around with the dude. And I know there's a lot of people that have reached out and said, wow, you made it like 145 shows. You got to the end of the catalog. I'm like, I know, and I'm ready to do another 145 because I just like podcasting with Mark. It's been that much fun. And the community that has kind of grown around us has been absolutely tremendous. So by far, that is the most positive experience for me.
Big same. big same, right back at you. I mean, like if it hadn't been Corey asking me to do this, I don't think I would have done it. Just because I just Corey just when he sets his mind to something, or he shows a genuine interest, he'll actually take the steps to be like, all right, well, let's explore this, let's try this out. That's why he has so many podcasts, because he's not afraid to try things out and to see if they work. And if they don't, that's cool. It just didn't. And then sometimes a little diamond in the rough, as it were, this little podcast that we've just kept on trucking, and that's just because we have a good rapport, Corey and I I absolutely love podcasting with him. And I do think when I call him producer extraordinaire, I'm not blowing smoke. Like, I truly believe that. I know he's too humble to admit it, but he's good at it, and he's patient. And I need people like that, good patient people, because I am not as patient as I would like to be, and I try. I want to be better at being patient, but one step at a time, right? But really, the most positive, overwhelming fact is that it's 145 episodes. Like, we did it. Like, we actually did it. And it's in no small part thanks to people like Kevin Brown, to you, Scott, all of you guys that have been with us either from the beginning, or if you just like caught the show last week and now you've got a ton of homework to do. I commend you and thank you. Please do. And you'll and go easy on early version Mark and Corey, because we were still trying to find our footing with this format. So take it easy anyway. And yeah, just the overwhelming support, the continuous outcry of support, and just you guys go above and beyond for us, man. You really do. And you may not think like you do much, but anything you guys do is awesome. And so, like, nothing is too small of a gesture in our eyes if you guys are throwing the support, and you guys are keeping it a really positive atmosphere. Like, all you guys that are involved with the Discord, if you're on our Patreon, like, where the community, I feel like, just keeps growing, and we want to keep growing that as we continue this journey. So yeah, it's just the listeners and the ones that have gone, we understand that you guys are not experts on this band, and we understand you're not rock historians. We understand what you're doing in this journey, and we decide that we want to keep attending this journey with you, all you guys. Yeah, it's that speaks volumes about you guys, and we're just very appreciative. So yeah, the best part of it, the most positive, is you guys, the listeners. Just the fact that you're still here, just the fact that Kevin is still here doing this.
Yeah, and still here tonight. It's been like 2.5 hours. Jesus,
I know it's been late, you guys.
Well, you got to get another 2-parter, Corey.
Oh boy.
No, we'll do this in one. Tom in the chat, though, asks, did you guys ever think about stopping? I can honestly say no. Obviously, we abruptly ended the Aerosmith podcast. Backtrack's theme music was another show I was doing, kind of just fizzled out. But I never once thought about stopping this one. And when we got close to the end of the Van Halen Catalogue, I thought, well, we'll just do solo stuff. We'll just keep on going, because I like hanging out with Mark on a Wednesday. How about you, Mark? Did you ever think about stopping?
The only time I thought about stopping, honestly, was once we reached the end of the catalog. Because once we started and once we got a few episodes in, it was like, okay, let's keep going. I think we can keep doing this. And then when the audience started getting like really involved, and all you guys like on the Patreon and everything, that's when it gave me something like, oh, okay, cool, because I enjoy podcasting with Corey, even if nobody's listening. But it was just the fact that it's like, hey, you guys, looking forward to the next thing. It's like, oh, it gives us something to, we get to look forward to doing the show, even on days where we're just kind of like, oh God, I don't want to do it. But it's like, no, yeah, I do want to talk about Van Halen. It's awesome. So I thought the show was going to end, or I thought about ending it once we finished the catalog entirely. It's like, maybe we've worn out our welcome. But what changed was, again, the voices of you and Corey's persuasion. He's good at that. It was and you Kevin. Actually, you both tag teamed me, and you were just like, well, you guys obviously we've got plans for the next stuff. Like, we do. We have plans. Okay, I'm just along for the ride. I'm only halfway kidding. But yeah, I did have thoughts about that. But now that we know what we're gonna, the idea of where we're going, and the fact that you guys are still keen, definitely keeps me keen. So yeah, here we go.
Let's keep going.
Awesome. Well, you have, as a final word from me, and I'll throw it over to you, say your goodbyes. You have birthed several little spin-off podcast babies from this endeavor. But for all of us who are doing those podcasts, you are still the bar that we all strive to achieve, and you are the giant shoulders which we stand on. So thank you so much for being awesome and for inviting us all on and including us in your journey. It's been brilliant.
Well, happy to have you along, and thank you for continuously being part of that journey, Kevin, in all honesty. And thank you for doing this. Big round of applause at home for Kevin Brown, everybody. I know Corey likes to give him shit, but we actually do like him.
Very much.
Stick
very,
around.
very much, yeah.
So, all right, with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and sign her off. You good with that, Corey?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So that was the catalog of Van Halen, you guys. We've done it. We've rocked them all 145 episodes later, and it's time to take a breather, but not a long breather, because we'll be back soon, because you have demanded that we come back soon. You have demanded that we stay on the podcasting airwaves, despite the fact that we have proven that, are you sure? You sure about that? It's like, yeah, you guys want us to keep going. So, fret not, we will be back. But as always, go to podcastwillrock.com, find all the backlog episodes. And now it's officially like all the episodes, the entire Van Halen catalog. It's right there at your downloading disposal. Do me a favor, though. Feel free to share with your friends. Tell people about it. Say like, hey, you like Van Halen? These guys did a show about it. Have them take a listen. Have them join the journey. And then maybe they will join us in the upcoming journeys. It'd be fun. Also, get yourself some merch while you're at it over there. Get you an Apologies to Gary t-shirt. Give us, maybe we'll, in the next not too distant future, we'll get some new designs on there. I don't know. We'll think of some stuff, but we got some pretty awesome things thanks to Kevin Brown already on the store. So get yourself a shirt, get yourself a tank, and also all the socials, all the things are connected to the website as well. Please do us a favor, though. If you really want to help contribute, help be part of the show as it goes forward, go to patreon.com/podcastwillrock. Join the Patreon. That is where you will get perks like the Discord link, where the conversations are continuously happening and you get to say so on the show. It's a lot of fun, and we enjoy meeting new people. So get on the Patreon, find a tier that's right for you. It's fun. I guarantee it. All right. On behalf of Corey and the illustrious Kevin Brown, I am Mark Kmeyer. We have been, and the podcast will rock, but we will, I assure you, rock you later.